Hey guys, and welcome to another video. As you can see, I'm again with our good friend Eric from Texas in America.
Howdy.
Yeah, and today we are talking about a very interesting topic, which might be interesting to you, which might also be straight on cool to some of you guys, but also maybe kind of scary to you because it's also a serious topic. Because today we are talking about firearms, and we will talk about owning firearms in America and owning firearms in Europe and in Germany especially, because I'm from Germany. And yeah, we'll talk about this. And yeah, we will do this with Eric, because Eric is actually a certified firearm instructor and expert.
Woohoo!
This is his certificate from the Texas Department of Public Safety. And yeah, you have also said that you've been teaching people already. Is that true, Eric?
Yeah, I have some friends that will go to the range, or I'll explain to them, number one rules of all the four different rules of gun safety, the operation of a firearm, all the mechanics and everything,
Yeah.
and just making sure that everything is done with safety is the number one priority.
And yeah, and soon you're making money out of this, in other words. You will be teaching
Yeah,
people for money.
eventually. Yeah, that's what this is for, so I can get paid for teaching all my friends and anybody else I want.
Yeah, that's nice actually. That's a really cool profession, in my opinion. You said you got like $400 per day, something like that, last time we met.
So I guess it depends on how you're working with the establishment. If you have your own range, or if you're going to somebody else's range, of course you have overhead to cover and everything.
Yeah.
But usually you can charge about $80 to $100, maybe less if you do a discount for people to take your class.
Mm.
It'd be about a 6-hour class plus the range proficiency. You have to do a shooting proficiency test afterwards if you want to get your license to carry.
Yeah.
And that depending on how many people take your class, you can probably rake in between maybe 400 up to 600, maybe even more
Yeah.
per day.
Yeah, it's not bad actually. It's some good money. Or at least in Germany it would be. I don't know, after inflation, everything in America, maybe it's not so much anymore on seeing how the housing prices and food prices have gone up over the last years. I mean, how much was it? One container of eggs was like $8 or something like that. Maybe 600
Yeah,
is
I
not
think
so much anymore, but it sounds like a lot of money to me at least.
yeah, it is. It's getting to be a lot. I mean, if you know somebody who's a farmer who has chickens, and you're better off there. Otherwise, you got to go to the store and pay a lot of money.
Okay, before we do say anything about the laws and restrictions and how you got your firearms and so on, Eric, would you like to present us your firearms so that you can show them to us, explain what they are doing, and some specs maybe about these weapons?
We'll start with two today. We got two pistols right here. One is going to be a 6 Sauer. This is a semi-automatic handgun.
Okay, semi-automatic means that you just pull down the trigger and then it shoots several rounds on its own.
Correct. So once it's been loaded, which this one is not, by the way, I'll go ahead and physically and visually inspect that the gun is clear. There's nothing in the chamber. There's nothing there's no magazine in there. Basically, whenever you load your magazine in there, you'll do this, release a slide, and then once it's been loaded, you just keep pulling the trigger for as many rounds as in the magazine in the chamber.
Okay, so semi-automatic just means that it's loading on its own. Okay, sorry when I misunderstood
Yep.
this.
Yep.
Okay,
Self-loading. Yeah.
So if you want to make 20 shots, you have to press the trigger 20 times, basically.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. How much shots do you think you can do in a minute with this gun if you have a really small, really quick finger?
I mean, if you're just trying to mag up and pop, 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 you can do one. You can probably do 2 shots every second, maybe
Okay.
3 if you're really fast.
Yeah. Do you think 3 is like the technical maximum of the gun, or just the technical maximum of a finger, how fast it can go?
I think it's based more on how fast you can shoot, and then also on what the rules are of the range that you go to. Because if you do rapid fire, which is what that's called,
Yeah.
you'll probably get kicked out of most ranges. So
we don't like to see this, so they get angry if you do rapid fire. But
Yeah.
rapid fire is probably pretty stupid anyways, because it's very inaccurate, I guess.
yeah, you have less control over the firearm, and if you're
Yeah.
shooting for proficiency and accuracy, you're not going to be accurate at all.
Yeah.
So it's better off to just take your time, make sure you get the right shot, and not just waste your ammo. Because ammo is pretty expensive too.
Yeah. And what would you say is the effective range of a firearm like that?
This one, you can probably get a decent shot up to 15 yards, maybe even more if you're doing
50 or
marksmanship.
15?
15 yards.
15. So a yard is
Yeah.
like 90 centimeters, I think. So it's like 12 meters, something like that?
No, it's a yard. We got to do a conversion here. A yard would be 15 feet.
A yard is
So-
15 feet. So that is 5 meters, something like that.
Hold on a second. Okay, so a yard is 3 feet. So 15 feet.
It's 3 feet, yeah, exactly. So 3 feet is less than a meter. Because a meter is 100 centimeters and a feet is around 30, something like that. Okay, so 15 yards is what you said. So it's a relatively
so.
it's a relatively short range weapon, I would say, because 12 meters is really close actually. So if a person was standing away like 50 meters, for instance, so that would be like 60 yards. Do you think on 50 meters you could still use this weapon effectively, or would you say it's too far away already?
It would be really difficult to get be on target at that point. So I would try not to use it any more than that.
Yeah.
If you have to, then you just make sure you focus in on your sights,
Yeah.
your breath control, on your finger trigger control and everything, and your hand grip, everything that you have to consider whenever you're taking a shot.
Okay, sorry guys, we had to edit this out of the video because I wasn't sure about what to ask for the next time. The thing is, with these questions, we have a rough plan on what to say and what to show in this video, but it's not completely scripted. And some of my questions are spontaneous, so sometimes it may happen that I'm a little bit unprepared, and maybe also Eric is a little bit unprepared. But anyways, the thing is, yeah, it's basically more like a melee weapon, you could say, right? So it's a short-range distance weapon, but you probably could shoot further with bow and arrow, I guess. Because with bow and arrow, I had like I've been shooting bow and arrow when I was a teenager, and bow and arrow had like an effective range of 30 meters. That would be like how much is this? 35 yards. So basically, bow and arrow would have a longer effective range than your firearm, I guess.
For sure, yeah. Bow and arrow is definitely going to be more equivalent to the distance you'd be shooting with a rifle.
Yeah.
Versus, like, if you have a melee weapon like a tomahawk or throwing knife, that would be the most effective distance for a pistol.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to tell us more about these arms, the rounds that were being loaded, and the technical specifications about them?
Sure. So before I go into the rounds, I do want to show one more pistol that I have here.
Yep.
Or not pistol, it is a handgun, but it's technically not a pistol. This is a revolver. This is actually the first one I got, maybe quite some time ago. But I got this one specifically because it's smaller, and you can use it for conceal if you'd like to carry it on your person, and it's not going to show up if you're wearing larger clothing. So this is a revolver. It's got a release here for the cylinder that you push in and release that. You can see that it's not loaded. There are no rounds in the cylinder.
And it has 5 rounds. Usually if we watch a Western movie in Germany, we are used that revolvers have 6 rounds. So this one only has 5 rounds.
Correct. This is a much smaller firearm here. It's made of scandium, so it's a very light material, which means whenever you fire it, it's going to have much more recoil than a larger weapon.
Yeah.
So you'll push that back in, and the way it works, whenever you pull back on the hammer here, that will turn the cylinder at the same time and prepare the next round. And then once you release the trigger, the hammer will fire forward and make contact with a pin, which goes into the round, which creates the explosion.
Yeah, that's actually the thing, because there's another pin inside. Can you show this? Because the hammer itself, it is actually flat. Eric just showed me this before we started the recording. So if you put back the hammer of your gun, if you put back the hammer, as you guys can see, it's completely flat basically. So there's no pin inside there. And 1 second, can you hold it in a rectangular? So there's another pin inside of here, and the hammer is just hitting this pin, and then the pin inside of here is basically triggering the bullet. Okay, do you want to show us your rounds right now, or what's the next thing you want to show?
What is that? Okay. Yeah, so we'll show some rounds here.
1 second, can you hold like this again? the funny thing is, if Eric now holds it like that, and I put myself on the left side, it really looks like Eric is trying to shoot me. But now we can't see the. You have to put it to the other side so if you can see the opening of the gun. Can you put it to the other side a little bit?
You mean this way?
No, not the other way around. Turn it around, but so that we can see the start of the gun. Just
this here.
Exactly. So if you hold it like this, I can be like, oh, don't shoot me, don't shoot me, don't shoot me. Okay.
Right.
So much about that. Small joke here. But that's interesting. That's some very small firearms that you can carry with you. What's the main differences between these weapons? So as we have seen, the one holds 5 rounds. How much rounds does the other one hold?
This one holds 20.
20. Yeah, so it sounds much better, but can we see the rounds right now? Like one only has 5, the other has 20.
So the one that holds 20 is going to shoot 20 of these.
Yeah.
Versus the one that holds 5 is going to shoot 5 of these.
Yeah, and as you can see, the size is quite a difference there. The interesting thing is also it's only the top thing that is eventually hitting the person, right? Because everything below that, like only the top is hitting the person, everything below that is explosive charge or gunpowder, and this is just to basically speed up the metal on top. I'm not an expert on this, but this is how far I can tell. This is correct, Eric, right?
Yeah, so the other thing is, depending on what kind of rounds you're using, you also have the one that I just showed you. This one is hollow on the inside. This is called a semi-jacket hollow point.
Yeah.
Versus if you're using a full metal jacket, which be the same caliber right here. This is 38 special. This is fully encased, basically.
Okay. And what do these do? What's the effect of these two?
Yeah, so these are going to be used more for target practice. This is going to be for just if you're trying to hit paper, hit the target, whatever you're doing. This is more likely to go through the targets whenever you're shooting. Versus this one, whenever you fire this one, this is going to expand whenever it hits the target. So this is going to be more effective for bringing your target down. You always want to make sure that when you're carrying, wherever you go, that you make sure you're loaded with these right here instead of these, because one of the rules of gun safety is that you always want to be aware of your target and anything directly behind it. If you hit your target with this, then there is a very high probability that this keeps going and hits something behind your target.
But the damage done to the person is much higher with the hollow point, right?
Depending on where you hit, yes.
Yeah. Can do severe damage, because I think the hollow points, I'm not completely sure about this, but I think the hollow points are forbidden in Germany. You cannot have them.
Oh, wow.
Because I read about this, because they inflict higher wounds, bigger wounds. And also I've read that when they exit the body, that they also do a very big wound at the exit point of the body,
just kind basically. Of mushrooms out.
Yeah. So, question to you. If 2 dudes were walking up to you, and one has the revolver and the other has the pistol, and they both want to shoot you, and you only have time to shoot one of them. Who would you rather shoot, and who would you rather get shot by? Would you rather get shot by the revolver, or would you rather get shot by the pistol? It's just theoretically. You have never shot on a person. You've told me this before the video, but you've never shot on a person. But if some dudes were walking up to you, what would you say is more dangerous? Which is the more dangerous weapon in your opinion?
This is a losing scenario, man. One of them's gonna get you, and you can get one of them. I don't know, man.
Let's say there's just one dude, and he has to choose one of these 2 weapons. Which weapon is more dangerous to you? Let's put it like this.
I would say okay. Depending on the circumstances of him approaching you and how he's doing it, I would say the pistol is more dangerous because you can get off more rounds in a shorter amount of time versus a revolver, which is limited in the number of rounds. But it's depending on who you ask, it's less likely to fail. There's always a potential chance of failure for a pistol. So there's also a scenario where people would say if you're being assaulted by somebody with a pistol, if you have it pointing at you, what you would do, if you can manage it, is grab it from the front and lock the slide back with your hand. So basically you can see I'm grabbing it this way and pushing it back, this renders it useless. This renders it ineffective.
Okay. So with a
Yeah.
pistol, it's easier for you to get into melee. If you have like a knife or something, you could go into melee and just hold the slide. Okay, so
Yep.
you would say, which one is more dangerous, revolver or pistol?
Again, it's really hard to say which one is more dangerous. They're both
It's hard
very
to say, but
dangerous. I would hate
it's
to
close
be.
probably. Okay.
Yeah, I'd hate to be staring down the barrel of either of them. But again, considering different circumstances, you're probably more likely to get it. Like if it's far away, if it's far enough away, then the pistol is more dangerous versus a revolver. There's other circumstances that play in, like sights. If you want to take a look here at the sights here.
Yeah.
You line it up right there, and that's basically what your the assailant would be using this to sight, versus the revolver. This is a much shorter barrel, so you can also tell you have more of a distance between the sights here. That's going to make it more accurate. Versus this one, it's a much shorter distance if I put them right next to each other.
But the thing is, would you actually really use these sights, or would you just shoot from the hip? Because it just feels to me like if you assault it quickly, it just feels to me like you're not holding the weapon like this and looking first before you shoot. It just more feels to me like you're just shooting out of the hip, basically. Like are the sights so important after all? I mean, for a rifle they are, of course, but for pistols, I'm not sure if the sights are even so important.
Yeah, if the attacker doesn't care about sights and they're just, side fire kind of this thing right here, then you're probably more likely to get hurt from the pistol than the revolver. Because the revolver, this one particularly, it's a very short-sighted weapon. So if your aim is off and you're doing this and that, then you probably have a better chance of escaping or returning fire.
Okay, can you also show us the back sides of the round still? Because you also wanted to show that.
All right. As far as the backsides, the large caliber here is going to have a primer in the center. This is where the firing pin would hit, and this is going to cause the reaction for it to hit the gunpowder, and that would cause for the projectile, being the actual bullet itself, this tiny little piece, to exit and go towards its intended trajectory.
Do you think you could trigger this by hand if you took like a nail and tried with a nail to put it inside?
You could. That's always the thing. You can actually just take a pin yourself and then just take a little hammer and do that. It's a little more difficult than doing it from a firearm, but of course you should expect the same consequences of that.
Okay, so it is possible, but would you hurt yourself while doing this?
Probably, because with a firearm, you have it encased inside this right here, and it's only going to go where it's stuck right here. It's going to stay right here, and it's not going to go anywhere. Versus if you're doing it from your hand here, if you have a little pin set up right here, and you just do all that and take a hammer and do that, it's what is it? Newton's law of for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
It's the third law of Newton.
Third law, thank you. So not only does this goes that way, this one is going to come back and hit you in the hand and probably hit you in the face or something. So you don't want to mess with that.
We call it Wechselwirkungsgesetz in German. But the thing is, there's also an explosion. Do you think you would burn yourself if you just put a pin inside of there?
That's another thing with revolvers. You never want to put your hands in where the explosion would come out here. And it's not necessarily an explosion, it's just the release of all the gases from here. So if you're shooting your revolver here and you have your hand like right here, then you're going to burn your hand right here. Yeah.
But would it be any dangerous if a dude came up with a bullet and a nail? Would you feel any endangered, or would you say it's ridiculous? It doesn't make any sense.
I would disregard. I wouldn't even think of it. That dude needs to be put down for sure.
Yeah.
That dude is more of a threat than somebody with a firearm.
He's more like a mental threat, probably, right?
Yeah, that dude, he failed the mental evaluation at the store, and he has to resort to just using a hammer and nail on a bullet.
It's interesting that you mention mental evaluation, because we're also going to talk about this later on. But that's another thing. Let's go through the rifles a little bit faster because we actually didn't plan for this to go so long. But I think the questions that I've been asking so far have been interesting, and also what you have said so far. So third one was a shotgun, what you wanted to show, right?
Yep, I got one over here. And of course, shotguns are just as diverse as pistols. Not only do you have handguns as revolvers and pistols, but shotguns, you can have something very long, you can have something very short.
Yep.
You can have different kinds for hunting, for sporting, for self-defense. This one that I'm going to show you here, this one is meant more for self-defense because of the size of it. It's very short. It's not very. It's not long enough to get a good shot out. Unless you add some.
Do you know the name of this shotgun? Does it have a brand name?
Yes, this is a Mossberg Patriot. Actually, no, this is a Mossberg Shockwave.
Okay. Can you also quickly tell us the names of the pistol and the revolver at your head?
The revolver would be a Smith & Wesson Model 360. And then the semi-automatic handgun would be a Sig Sauer.
Yeah.
This is a P322.
Yeah. Sig Sauer, it's a German one, right?
Yeah. Is it German? I always forget if Sig Sauer is German.
Sour in German, it means either sour, like the taste, a sour taste, sour cherry, saure Kirsche, or it can also mean angry. If a person is angry, we can also say sauer.
Sauer.
And then there's also Sau. Sau is a female pig, and if someone makes a mess, we call it Sauerei, because it looks like a pig has been there. So it has different meanings in German, actually, even. Okay, but that much about that. Let's go to the shotgun again.
I just looked it up, by the way. Sig Sauer is Swiss.
Okay, it's Swiss, yeah, but we also speak German, so it's kind of the same, basically.
Originated in Germany.
Would you say that German and Swiss weapons have more quality, or would you say it doesn't matter if it's bought in America? If it's in America?
I would say German weapons are very high quality, like H&K is another one, Heckler & Koch. They're very good quality, but if you find them here in America, you're going to pay high dollar for them.
Yeah. It's funny that you say Heckler and Koch. We call it Heckler und Koch in German, but you say Koch, it sounds like someone's taking cocaine, like Heckler and Koch is...
They're just drinking it.
So.
All right. So then the trade-off would be, so like in America, the trade-off is for quality and price.
Yeah.
You're going to get very good quality when you buy German, but you're going to pay a high price.
Yeah.
Versus if you buy American, you're also going to get quality as well, but then you don't have to pay as much, probably because of shipping. You don't have to ship from overseas or anything. But this one is an American-made, also made in Texas. Go Texas! Mossberg Shockwave. This one I do have loaded with some dummy rounds. I'll show you one of those real quick.
Dummy rounds means it's like plastic, right? It's just to stun people.
Yep. This is going to be a fake round. This is just for practice. You can see the spring inside.
Okay.
This is going to be for whenever the firing pin hits back here, it's going to hit this piece, which goes down on the spring, and this allows you to practice dry fire without doing any damage to your gun.
Okay. But it shoots out. The spring shoots out, right?
Yes. So I'll show you for example.
So would it hurt if you shot me with it, or how does it?
No. So this isn't going to fire anything. There's no projectiles coming out of this piece right here. This is just for practicing dry fire. So I'll give you an example here. I'll show you.
Yeah.
You have the little piece in the bottom right here. This is the release that allows you to rack the slide, which is this piece right here. So now I'm going to have one more in there, and I'm going to put this one back just really quick. Yep. This is a manual way of loading your shotgun. You just do it this way, put it through the bottom right here.
Yep.
Push that in, and then this bottom piece is going to hold all of your rounds. You can have up to 5 or 6, maybe more, depending on what size of round you're doing. So then I'll do that.
So it depends on the length of the shaft and on the length of the bullets, basically. Okay, interesting. I thought it was always a set amount, because I know that usually 6 or 5 fit in a shotgun. So that's what I actually knew. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
So if you have longer rounds, you're going to hold less.
Yeah, makes sense.
So if I have somebody over here, or a target, not somebody, but just a target. Load up the dummy round. You can Okay, so the safety is on.
Yeah.
And then when you want to turn the safety off, you'll push this forward.
Yeah.
And now you can see with the little red dot. And most firearms are going to have this on there too. They're going to let you know when the safety is off.
Yeah.
And now it's ready to fire. And this one I don't like to fire because of the recoil, but it's got a dummy round, so there's not going to be any recoil. So from there, I'll go ahead and press the safety or the release there. And there goes the dummy round.
Okay. So this is the kind of round that you would use in your classes, basically, if you're teaching people stuff. Yeah.
Correct. This is for practice with dry fire, and you let everybody know you physically and visually inspect 3 times with 3 different people if you want that you're using dummy rounds, and this is going to be, and even once you've done all that, safety is always paramount whenever you're doing any courses or anything. So you let people know that they're dummy rounds, and even then, you're still going to treat this like the weapon that it deserves to be treated as. You always keep it pointed in a safe direction.
Yeah, that's very important. It remembers me well of our instructions. If you go to a workshop in Germany, for instance, and we have sharp tools and so on, we also have some safety instructions. And Germans are very, very strict with their safety instructions. I think a German safety instruction for like a sharp knife is a safety instruction for a sharp knife is probably longer and more important to the people than guns in America, as far as I know, because the Germans are completely crazy about security and protecting things and sticking to rules and so on and laws. Yeah, so it's a good, reminds me of our good old German safety instructions. We have this for like everything, like everything you can possibly use. There's always a safety instruction. Like when you're at school, for instance, and there is knives or so on, or there is scissors even, there's always a safety instruction. So that's the most German thing you can actually do is holding a lecture on a safety instruction. So that's like a German culture spreading to America, basically, or so it feels at least to me. How many different shots do you actually have in America or for your shotgun? Like I know there's bird shot, when there's like plastic shots for the police if you just want to stun people. There's explosive shots. There is like hollow shots. I don't know. There's probably like a good dozen of different shots that you can load into your shotgun. I don't even know.
Yeah, most stores you go to, there's going to be at least 3 main types. You'll have the first one you mentioned, the birdshot, which is going to be really tiny BBs inside that. It's just meant for hunting, if you will. And then the next one up would be buckshot. So that's going to be double-aught buck. They're much larger pellets that you put in there. And those are going to do a lot more damage. Those are meant more for hunting larger animals.
Yeah, like and after deer, that, probably, I guess. A buck is a big deer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big
it's a pretty, And then after that, you've got slugs, which are going to be just maybe nickel quarter size, like the size of a coin, all into one. It's basically just one big bullet.
Okay. And what would you use this on? On what kind of target?
I mean, if it's not a car, it's just going to be like an elk or something. Just like the biggest animal you can find in America, which would be an elk or maybe even a bear.
Okay.
I'd hate to be in that situation, but if it came down to it, they'd be good for bears.
But would you say that a shotgun is the best weapon against a bear, or would you refer to another weapon, like a semi-automatic rifle, or what would you take if you were fighting a bear?
Just bears are so big, man. It's gonna take so like if you had one of these against a bear, then the bear wins hands down. Yeah. These things are not gonna stop a bear at all.
Even if you don't, if you shoot in the head, you can you cannot do damage. I mean, on the body, it's obvious that you can't do much damage with a pistol.
Yeah, just because I guess bears also have a pretty thick skull.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for my 22 round here. So yeah, as far as the round going in through the skull of a bear, these things are not going to do much damage. This thing is just going to piss it off more than anything else. This thing, you'd have to really focus on shot placements. So like if you get it in the eye or something, that'd be much easier versus if you just get it like in a direct hit from the front.
Okay, so basically if there's a fight between a gunslinger and a bear, the bear is probably in the better situation or has the better, he's in the advantage. Okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so that's really a situation you don't want to get into. That's also interesting because I've seen a documentary about 19th century America. and or was it even 18th? I think like 1780, yeah, 18th century America, and there were settlers in America, and we were extremely afraid of grizzly bears because we didn't really have any weapons to kill those, and we were extremely scared of those. And even with a modern firearm, you would say it's difficult to kill a bear.
Absolutely, unless you have maybe like a 44 Magnum or just an incredibly large handgun caliber, it's going to be very difficult to take down a bear.
Okay, so this is definitely a situation you would want to avoid if you ever go to America. Like never meet up with a grizzly bear. Grizzlies are.
Yep.
Yeah.
You see one and you just go in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably best to just stay away like 200 meters at least, so that they don't even smell you or they don't attack you there. Yeah. Not the nicest situation. I actually thought that you are more secure with a firearm, actually, but if you say that the bear is in the advantage. But it's the same with a shotgun. Shotgun is also not the best weapon to take on a bear. So basically,
it'd probably be like your best advantage to have one, but then again, you never want to take on a bear. And if there's one charging at you, then just go at it with whatever you got and pray for the best.
But if you wanted to kill a bear, you would probably take like a sniper rifle or something, I guess. Like something with some really strong impact at the body, like something with a really big round that has lots of jewels, I guess.
Yeah, high caliber rifle.
Okay, interesting. We actually didn't want to talk about bears, but I think that might also be interesting to some of you guys. At least it's interesting to me to know that a handgun is relatively useless against a bear. But I mean, it's not so surprising. Grizzly bears are apex predators. I think apart from ice bears, they're probably one of the most dangerous animals that you can encounter on land. Like maybe a hippo is more dangerous or an angry elephant, but elephants are not aggressive, so probably a grizzly bear is one of the least things you want to encounter on land with only fire, with only a small pistol in your hand. Okay, you have two more, you said. Or do you want to say more about your shotgun? If there's anything interesting left, you can also say something about your shotgun.
I think that was basically it. That one, since it's so small, it's really meant more for. The other thing is that I was going to mention that whenever I took that thing to the range, most ranges you go to, they do not allow you to shoot birdshot or buckshot, any kind of shot. Basically, they want you to specifically shoot only slugs. Especially if you're indoors, because the spread on that kind of ammo is going to do a lot of damage to the walls, to the ceiling, to other mechanisms they have in there for target practice. So you have to shoot specifically with slugs.
The thing is, if you just talk about the shooting range, you said you had some videos recorded at the shooting range. If you want to, you can send this to me later, and then I can put it into the video later on, so I can edit it in that people can also see you at the shooting range. Yeah, because you also had like a very big rifle, but maybe we say more about this after showing the weapons. You had a really big rifle that you were showing me where you were also laying down. It was like a sniper rifle. You know which one I mean, right? The big one you were showing.
Yeah, that's a Barrett 50. That's not mine. That was the one they had there. That would be very difficult to get your hands on one of those.
But you said it was very expensive. You had to pay like $2 per every shot that you took. Or was it 10?
It was about $15 a round.
$15 a round, but you told me that the rounds usually cost $2 if you buy it in the store, right? Like it costs $2, but you had to pay $15 because you had to use the weapon that we gave you.
Those are probably gonna be a little more. Based on, so like these right here, if you wanted to buy 38 special, these are gonna be more like 60 to 80 cents if you go in the store each. But of course, you're gonna buy a box of 50 to 200.
Yeah, so that's like $150 if you buy a big box, something like that, roughly.
So let's say, for example, I think it's either 9 or 30. I think it's 9. I got a box of 200 rounds of 9mm for some target practice, and those came out to about $60 with a $5 discount kind of thing.
Okay, so it's also kind of an expensive hobby, you could say. Like if you go to the shooting range and you shoot out some rounds, it's not so cheap after all.
Yep.
How much money do you think you've spent on all your weapons and your rounds so far?
Ooh, I'm not trying to get in trouble, man. That's gonna be too much for me. But like I said, it's a very expensive hobby. I mean, some people are musicians and pay a lot of money on guitars and other instruments. Some people are very much into cars and they like to spend a lot of money on parts or souping up their engines, that kind of thing, or even tires. So it does get to be a pretty expensive hobby, and it makes it very difficult to do other things if you like to get into this, financially speaking.
Yeah, I was exactly thinking this. It's pretty expensive probably if you have all these rounds. How many rounds do you actually shoot if you're at the shooting range? What's your average? Do you shoot like 2-3 magazines, or how much do you shoot?
Depending on what you're trying to accomplish, if you're trying to improve your aim, you probably want to go with at least 200 rounds. Each one of these magazines, for this one right here, this is going to hold 20 rounds of 22. If you get yourself the same size firearm, but you're doing a different caliber, let's say, for example, if you want to shoot 9mm, this thing is going to hold about 7 to 8. Maybe you can get one that holds more. It'd be a little more heavy if you want to get one that holds maybe up to 17. That's the standard for most larger handguns over here.
Okay. So we can also expect you to pay another. How much do you pay to go to the entrance at the shooting range?
So your entrance fee, depending on places you go to, it could be anywhere between $15 to $20. Some places are going to charge you by the hour. Some places are going to charge you by the day, which is preferable to do that.
Yeah.
And then different ranges are going to charge you different amounts for what kinds of firearms you want to do. So,
so one day at the shooting range is roughly, to keep it short, is roughly $200 to $300, I guess, something like that.
Considering all the ammo you'd be shooting, it wouldn't be that much, I think. You'd probably get away with doing less. You can actually go and rent firearms from the shooting ranges. So that'd be another cost on top of that.
What do you say is reasonable? Just a number. 150, 200, 100? What's a reasonable amount to pay at the shooting range for one session?
Anywhere between $50. Well, some ranges you can just get in for $20. If you have your own firearms and your own ammo, you only pay them the $20 and that's it. But if you're doing everything else, if you want to buy the ammo from them, that's going to be more expensive than if you buy yourself at another store. If you have your own firearms, that's going to be, well, you already spent $500 to $1,000 on a firearm. So that's going to be another cost in itself. But it's going to cost you anywhere between $20 to $50 to rent the firearm from the range, unless you're getting a very large caliber like I did. It's going to be even more than that. So you could probably spend anywhere between $20, maybe even up to $100, depending on your circumstances at a range.
Eric, can you move a little bit more backwards? Is this possible? Yeah, because then we can see you better, and also the lighting gets better then. By the way, if you guys wonder why I'm in black and white, there's 2 reasons, and the biggest reason is my webcam is shit and the colors are completely off. And I just put this in like this in OBS. I could change it again, and then we have colors. But the thing is also, because of light situation, if I put colors in, it gets kind of weird and it's hard to see me. So this is intentional. So I'm looking like a 1940s movie today, because it just looks better. Trust me, I've experimented with this before the video and last week as well. So I've tried to be in color today, but it just looked really shitty on my webcam. So please excuse that, but my webcam is not exactly the best one. But therefore the whole notebook was a bargain. Actually, I only paid €1,200, and usually for the same hardware I would have paid like 2,400, 500, something like that. So it was a bargain, and I didn't expect to have a really good webcam anyways. But
you just gotta add toner, bro.
Say again?
You just gotta add toner.
Toner. Okay, from the printers. Sorry, my vocabulary is sometimes. I was struggling for a moment. And also, I was listening to sounds outside. There was something happening outside, so I was not completely focused. But anyways, let's go on. You have 2 more rifles. Actually, we're already spending too much time on this, but I think the questions still were pretty interesting. So we only planned to invest like 5 minutes into this part of the video, but it is what it is now, and I think the questions were interesting so far.
That's fine. I did want to show off one more thing here, if I can get it to work. Okay, so this did not come with the shotgun here. I added this on later on because they told me at the range when I first started that you have to aim down the sights whenever you're using this. And I realized that when you're shooting slugs, because you're not allowed to shoot shot or birdshot or buck or anything, you have to basically do this. And I didn't want to do that because I like my teeth. I don't want to lose any of them, and this thing will end up doing that to you. So I added this piece right here that's going to be a side attachment that allows you to point a laser.
Okay, interesting.
Yep. So having this on means you don't have to do this anymore. You can just fire from the hip and you're good to go.
Can you show it from the other side? I think most people could not really see it well because I couldn't really see it well. Beside it, yeah, exactly, yeah, okay, yeah.
This right here.
So there's laser over there. Yeah, okay, interesting. I know this only from being mounted on top, having a laser visor on top, but you mounted it to the side. Okay, that's interesting.
Well, I guess it is on top. It's right on it.
How much did this modification cost you, and could you do it on yourself, or did you have to pay someone to install it?
Yeah, I found it online for maybe $150, or maybe a little bit more, because green is more expensive than red. But I was able to do it all by myself. You don't need any special armor to do it for you.
Okay, by the way, you have a shirt there saying Super Chapo Bros. El Chapo, he was a drug dealer in Mexico. This is meant as comedy. This is satire. This is Eric is not involved with drug cartels or shit like that. Eric never shot at a human. So this is yeah, this is how do you call it? It's satire. Don't take it don't take it too literally. Like Eric is not a dangerous person. So if you came to Eric's house, don't be expected to be shot in the head. First thing first. Maybe if you have really bad manners, maybe if you're coming up with a gun or you have your face covered, you might get shot. But that is only in self-defense in this case. So that's fair, I guess. Okay. Do you want to show us your other 2 weapons? You said you had 2 rifles for us as well. Okay, that looks like an M14, something like that. What is it? It's a carabine, right? Like it looks like an M14 carabine that we had at the army. Looks like an army
This
weapon.
is it's a standard AR-15.
That's the AR-15 you were talking about. Okay, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but this is like military grade, right? This is like a military weapon.
Military grade would probably be a little better than this, but then again, military firearms is basically just military grade means whoever got the best deal for the contracts to produce everything, whoever did it for the cheapest amount. Yeah. So if you expend the money, that you can probably get better than military grade.
Yeah. But it's probably better than what people had in Vietnam, I guess. In the Vietnam War, they probably didn't have such a good weapon like the AR-15.
Yeah, I'm not too. I should probably do more research on the improvements for this thing from the Vietnam era. Yep. But if you ask some veterans, they'll tell you that they had better quality then than we do now. So, but everybody's gonna argue about it.
Let's in 1 sec. I will turn on the light because it's starting to get dark outside. We're actually a little bit slow for this interview because we planned to do this interview like half an hour ago, and now I run into a problem here that simply the light is turning off. So the natural light is turning off. I just put on the lamps. I hope it's looking better now. Okay. Yeah. Is there anything you want to say about this weapon, Eric?
By itself, let me see if I can get this thing on. So by itself is just the rifle itself. This was an add-on to basically have the stock retractable like this. Yep. This definitely helps to have. Yep. I added this little ring on here so you can put a sling on it. It came with this. So this is going to be a little stock that it came with that's going to allow you to aim. And then I added a red dot on top of that just so you can get a better aim. I don't know if you can see it from where you're sitting.
It's hard to see, but I can remember I've seen it last time you showed me. Yeah. Now we 1 sec, we can see it. It's hard to see, but we can see it if you look closely. If you look at full resolution, if you put the video at 1440p, you can probably see it.
Yeah, be a little red dot on there.
What kind of things would you use this weapon for, Eric?
This would be much better for hunting. This would be good for if you're trying to improve on your aim. That'd be really good too. That's always a good thing to have. Yep. But yeah, mostly hunting for this.
Can you show us a round of this weapon?
Yep. All right, just to verify, there's nothing in here. Physically and visually inspect. There's nothing in there. I have.
I mean, you could have any rounds in there. It doesn't matter. I don't think you can shoot me with this weapon from Texas.
Yeah.
it's
Just in case.
It's probably a little bit above its range. I think if you want to shoot on other continents, you have to have some long range nuclear missiles or something like that. Like that is more it's more threatening if you're on another continent.
I don't have any of those yet. But anyway, here's going to be the round for that. This is 5.56 by 45.
Yeah. It looks very much like an AK round, that I know from the video games. It's really close.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's all this. This is all going to be the powder in here.
Yep.
Again, you have the primer on the back where the firing pin will strike,
yep.
and that causes the explosion to release the tiny little projectile here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any more questions about this one. Maybe you just show the other one, because as I said, I think we already invested quite some time into this. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not actually the purpose of this interview. The purpose is more about experience and laws and the way of getting the weapons and so on.
Got it. Last but not least,
this is an AK-47, something like that.
This is going to be a KR-103. This is a American copy of the last AK that the original inventor Mikhail Kalashnikov had overseen before he passed away. But this one was made in Florida, not in Texas, but it's still a very good, from what I hear, it's a very good copy of the Russian model.
The magazine is quite long. It holds, usually they hold 30 rounds. As far as I know, this looks like a 40-round magazine. Is that correct, Eric?
This is a 40 round.
Yeah, it's a longer one.
Compared to the AR, which only holds 30. But the AK only holds 30 also, but I just got an extended one here just for funsies.
Yeah. Is there any downside, like the springs sometimes getting stuck in the 40 one, or is there no downsides to it?
The downsides really come in more into play whenever you have like 100-round magazines, maybe even 120-round magazines. Like if it's a drum, those things are more likely to get jammed up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The longer it is, the easier it is probably for the mechanics inside of it. I mean, there's usually like little springs inside of there. I can't explain it exactly, but I've seen videos like that. There's small springs in there, and they can get tangled up.
For sure.
One thing also, if you just talk about springs, Eric also sent me some videos. I can quickly show you this. Like, this is basically how these weapons are getting loaded. First one is an AK-47, I think, that Eric has been showing us. So this is a GIF showing this. Or how do you call this? I call it GIF in German, not GIF.
Yeah,
GIF,
it is a GIF. Yep, not GIF.
Yeah, and the second one is a shotgun. So this is basically how the shotgun is being loaded. So the shots are basically at the bottom, and then the spring is putting in each of these shells, and then it gets fired out. So yeah, this is this. And then there's another web page, but I'm not showing this. This is just a pistol getting loaded. But I just want to show you this because Eric wanted to include this in the video. The last weapon is probably the most dangerous one. It looked like it's the most dangerous that you would have to be most scared about. Like if you're in the hood, in the ghetto basically, and there's some ghetto gangs, this is probably like their preferred weapon, I guess. It's probably like the most dangerous one.
I stay away from those areas.
Of course. But just to ask you again, it's probably the most dangerous, or it's probably the one weapon that could inflict the most danger, I guess.
I think so. Let me show you a round of this one real quick. It's actually a bit larger than the 5.56. Okay, so here's the 5.56 by 45, and here's the 7.62 by 39 Soviet round.
Yeah.
So if I put them right next to each other, you can tell a major difference in the bullet head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are definitely more more lethal, I guess. The 5.56 is more likely to put you out of combat, which I guess would be more the moral, ethical choice to make.
Yeah. And instead of deadly fire, to just put the person out of combat. Yeah, that's always the best option, of course, if it works. but it's probably most of the cases not really realistic, especially if you're like in a war scenario. I think most people getting shot where they really get shot, they are not just only taken out of combat. Yeah, but anyways, thanks for showing your equipment so far. Just one question to you. What was your first weapon that you got? So what was the first firearm that you got? Probably pistol, I guess.
This one.
This one, okay.
I was a huge fan of mobster movies growing up, and I always wanted to get a revolver, so I'm old school, old-fashioned.
Small question, what is the mobster video?
Like mafia movies, Goodfellas, Godfather.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so it was your first one. The funny thing is, which most people don't know, I have a very similar hobby like Eric. You could already hear I've been shooting bow and arrow, for instance. I also used to have a BB gun, so I also have some shooting experience. Maybe not with rounds that are as deadly as Eric's rounds, but I have also some experience with that. But even more, I'm into shooting with different equipment. So this is usually the equipment that I would be shooting with. So as you can see, this is like my first camera. This is a Canon camera. So Eric has rifles. I have a Canon, basically. That's the difference here.
And, you got me there, buddy.
And as you can see, this has a rifle screen. So you have a screen here that you can turn out. You can rifle it. You can even you can do a podcast. You can have a look at yourself if you're recording something. And this is what I shot most of the videos with that are on my channel. Nice thing is also we have a very special loading compartment here at the side. And as you can see, I'm shooting on SD, which is very important. And this is my first weapon of choice, basically. I also have a Tamron objective, like I have a Tamron lens. It goes from 17 to 50 millimeters, and it has an aperture of 2.8. So with this, I can shoot lots of different things. And the thing is, we have another interesting round over here. So if you put that out, this is my round. This is now a Weiss Akku. It's a third company distributor. So this is not an original one, but I also have the original one over here. But this is in black now. You can see this. This is in black. It only has a plastic cover on the other side, so it doesn't corrode. So this is what I'm shooting with. And the thing is, it's very effective. Like one round of this shooting apparatus, it can get you on average 300 to 600 shots. And the best thing is, with one shot, I can easily get several people or animals. Like I can remember I was once at a wedding, and I was shooting at the wedding. And with one shot... and with one shot of my Canon, I could get 30 or 40 people. So it's very effective. I have like 600 shots, and with one shot I can get 30 people. There's not many weapons that can do this. I think if you want to compete with this, you probably need like a flamethrower or a rocket launcher or something. That's
one hell of a cannon, dude.
You can see it's much more effective. You get a much larger coverage. But the thing is, until now, no one was sad about being shot. I think if you shoot someone with one of Eric's guns, it's probably a different thing. I don't think people would be too happy about this. But this is one of my equipment, and this is a Canon 60D. So it has an APS-C sensor, but I also have this. This is the large Canon, basically. So this is my Canon 5D Mark II, as you can see here.
Nice.
One sec, I can actually put myself a little bit bigger here so that you can better see it. So this is like my Canon 5D Mark II. It's a full frame sensor camera, and the thing is, it has also been used for video productions. In fact, the third season, I think, of Dr. House was completely shot on this camera. So this is also been used for TV productions. And this is an L objective, an L lens. The L lenses are the top lenses by Canon. So this is the 100mm macro lens, 2.8 aperture. This is really good for shooting portraits. So it's good for shooting people, basically, if you want to say how it is. It's good for shooting people, but it also has a macro mode, so you can go very, very close with the lens. And you can also shoot flowers and bugs and whatnot. So everything where you would get close, or like small mechanical components, which is what I have used it for most of the time, you can do it with that. And the thing is, if I turn on the camera, I can quickly show you. There's a Let me dismount this.
Does it have full auto function on there?
It has a pretty
nice.
big sensor. This is a full frame sensor, so this is 36 by 24 millimeters. Don't ask me how much this is in inches, but I think it's like 1.5 to 1 inch for the American viewers that might be interested in this. What is this not lining up? One sec. What's going on here?
Does that thing have full auto?
This thing is, yeah, it does have full auto. Why does the lens not work? This is, usually I never have this for Oculus. Okay, I have to line the 2 red dots over here. Okay, that was kind of embarrassing. Actually, I'm better with my equipment, but I haven't been shooting for the last half year or so, so I guess it's excusable. But I'm a little bit rusty in using my Canon. Yeah, and then I also have this is like 50mm prime lens. It's not the L lens. The L lens has an aperture of 1.2. There's also a smaller one which only costs 100 euro. It's probably the best lens in quality that you can get for this kind of money. It's 100 bucks or 100 euros approximately. This is the medium one. It has an aperture of 1.4. And yeah, it cost me like 300, 400 euros, something like that. But it's really good for low-light situations and for taking street photography, for instance. So yeah, I'm usually using prime lenses on my expensive camera. The thing is, with prime lenses, you can't zoom. But on the focal distance that you're using, they have more quality. Yeah, so this is my equipment for shooting, but I only shoot videos and pictures. I don't shoot animals or people. Or yeah, okay, I shoot animals and people, but I don't shoot them with deadly rounds. Like this is what I want to say. Okay, but anyways, this was just like a small joke. But I just thought if Eric shows off his equipment, I can also show off my shooting equipment with some humor inside of here. And yeah, this is basically also what I'm shooting my videos with. So if any one of you is interested in my equipment, we have also done it in this video, so I don't have to make any future videos and explain my equipment. And yeah, this is by the way also my microphone. So if anyone's interested, this is an Elgato. So this is an Elgato Wave 1. So this is my microphone. So if anyone's ever interested in knowing what I work with, this is my equipment, basically. Okay, but anyways, that much about that. Eric was presenting his equipment. I showed my equipment. Yeah, now we actually want to talk about the legal process, because it turns out in Germany, especially, it is pretty hard to actually get hold of a firearm. So there's many things that you have to do. You have to pass several tests, and if you're below 25, you always have to show also that you're mentally capable of running a firearm. So you have to make a special psychology test. You also have to explain to the agency why do you want to have this firearm. Is there any criminal records? Do you have any criminal people in your family? Whatnot. So it's lots of questions that you have to ask. And usually the process in Germany, I've Googled lots of things on it. There's several things that you have to consider. But approximately you can guess that you have to pay around 1,000 euro just for all the certificates and the tests that you have to pass. So it's relatively expensive. And the thing is also, you have to wait for your firearm relatively long. So it's usually a process. If it's 3 months, it's relatively fast, but it can easily take half a year, even longer than that. So, for instance, if your neighbor is not very nice to you, or a neo-Nazi is threatening you, you can't just go and order a gun and say, here, a neo-Nazi is threatening me. I need a gun right now. But you actually need some time to wait for it. You know, like it's not possible to get it right away, and it's relatively expensive to get one. And that is also a reason why guns are not that common in Germany. Like, I know some people, they are hunting, for instance, so they have hunting rifles. I know people, they are in a, I don't even know how you call this in English. We call it Sportschützenverein. It's people that are just shooting for sports, basically. So it's like a hobby for them. Yeah, there's also people like that. So I know some people like that, but it's definitely not as common as it is in America. In America, firearms are much more common. Firearms are seen much more often. And I've even seen in some documentaries like Bowling for Columbine, that shots are being sold in Walmart. Is that correct? Are there still shots in the supermarket that you can buy? Can you still buy firearms and rounds for your arms in the supermarket?
As far as I know, you can't buy firearms anymore. You can buy like BB guns and very small caliber pellet kind of stuff. And then as far as ammo, you can only buy what you would consider a hunting ammo. So for handguns, you can only get the 22 size caliber.
Okay.
And then for rifles, it's going to be like the 308,
Yeah.
which is going to be a lot larger than the AK that I shot, but it's meant more specifically for hunting.
Yeah. Okay. And probably also birdshot for the shotgun, I guess. Birdshot and maybe some slugs also.
Shot,
Yeah.
buck, and slugs. Most of my shotgun ammo I get from Walmart anyways, just because it's cheaper than most other places.
Do you think it's a good thing that they are selling this, or do you think that only firearms stores should be capable of selling those? Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think it's a bad thing? It's just your personal opinion.
I think they separate themselves from the liability by completely stopping the sale of firearms at Walmarts. I do remember maybe 10, 15 years ago they used to, but they stopped that after a lot of the shenanigans that were happening here in the States.
Yeah.
So they're only going to be selling to people who, I guess, who already have the firearms. You know, no one who doesn't have one is going to go up and buy something they can't use.
Yeah, but do you think it's a good thing that the rounds are available in the store? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, actually?
Whether it's good or bad, I think it's irrelevant. I don't think it's a bad thing, because if somebody wanted to do something that they shouldn't be doing,
Yeah.
they could just as easily go to any other store and buy them.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you have it in the supermarket, people are more in contact with it. So that is my thinking, basically. Do you think that it should be so easily accessible, or do you think that it would be better or more healthy if it was kept away from the public? Let's say it like that. Because the thing is, I just can't imagine that in any time soon, firearm ammunition will be available in the supermarket in Germany. Like maybe the AfD, we have a right-wing party at the moment. They're always saying that foreigners are bad and foreigners are all criminals. Like if they were saying, "Oh, everyone needs a firearm," I would not be surprised at all, because that would actually perfectly fit into the political spectrum of what we are doing. But even if we did that, we probably had to go to a special store in Germany. Like I cannot imagine going to the Kaufland or Lidl or Aldi in Germany and buying firearm rounds in the supermarket. Like this would be really crazy. But then again, it's a different culture, because our supermarkets are relatively small, and in our supermarkets we mainly buy food. If you want to have tools, we go to a tool store. If you want to have food, we go to the supermarket. I mean, in the supermarket we also have like comics, we have small tools, we have all different kinds of things, but usually like 80% of what we're selling is like food, basically. So we have different stores, and I know from Walmart that Walmart is basically selling anything, so it's a different culture also. Yeah, I think your Walmart is basically several of our stores combined in Germany. Because in Germany we don't have that. We only have what we call Einkaufspark, and where there are different stores. So you don't have to go to different places, but there's different stores. And if you want to get different stuff, like if you want to go electronics, you go to one. If you want to have just meat, you go to one. Like there's usually one store just selling meat and cheese, for instance. You go for another one for all the other groceries. You go to one to buy this and that. You know what I mean? It's a different culture, but it just would be very strange. Like if people went to the supermarket and they saw rounds for guns there, like I could imagine people would be like even shocked. I think in Germany some people would be shocked. Like what is this? Like people would not take it lightly. We would really discuss it. But I guess it's just a normal thing in America. Probably it's just different culture.
Yeah, part of the culture of having big box stores everywhere. And then the other thing is that in Walmart, or at least the one that I shop at, the ammo is on a completely opposite end of the store versus where you would buy all your food and other groceries and stuff. So groceries is all on one side. You have your fruits, vegetables, meats, and everything else. Milk is always in the back, of course, because your necessities are always in the back to get you to buy more. And then your sporting goods, your toys and everything else, garden center and everything else is going to be on the opposite end, and that's where you would find your hunting rounds. And then again, your hunting rounds are always going to be enclosed in a glass case or something, So you have to have an associate go in there and unlock it and walk you to the front to sell you the rounds. You can't just walk over there by yourself with them.
Yeah, so it's like several stores combined. This is what I said. You have different compartments in your stores, and yeah, it's very different. You can later, if you want to, you can Google for German stores. It looks very much different. I know I've been to the US, but it has been some time. It's almost 30 years. Almost 30 years ago, I was in the US. I celebrated my 5th birthday in New York actually. So I've been there. But it's so much time. I only have scarce memories. I remember being on the Empire State Building, for instance. I remember falling in the New York subway because I was grinding my forehead. Like, it looked really terrible actually, but it went away after 3 weeks. Like young people, kids were healing very well. But this is like some things I can remember, and I can remember we have been driving around the states. With the car, so we've been driving from West Coast to East Coast. We started in Washington and we went to New York, and from New York on we flew back to Germany, to Berlin. This is what I can still remember. Like there's some things, and I remember we have been to the Death Valley also. We have been driving through the Death Valley, and
Nice.
it was kind of dangerous because at one point there was one point where we told us the next gas station is 300 kilometers away, and we knew that the car can do 450 kilometers on one drive. But if the car had run out of gas, or if we had an accident or something, we would have been stuck in the middle of a desert. And it was not like today where you have a mobile phone and you can call people immediately. So these guys told us, could be dangerous, take lots of water with you, because if you get broke down in the desert, things could turn dangerous quite quickly, actually. So this is also one thing that I can remember. But anyways, that's a completely different topic. My trip around the US back then, and US shopping culture. But you said it's no problem for you if you can buy stuff there. I guess I can only tell you about Germany. I have not researched America enough for this interview, but in Germany, more than 90% of the people that are being killed with firearms, they are actually being killed by unlicensed firearms. There are sometimes some tragedies, like some people who own a gun, if they're hunters or if they're just shooting for the sport of it. Sometimes there are some tragedies. I've read about it in a newspaper a couple of months ago. There was a man and his, it was a young man. He was like 20, so it was a very young man, basically. Just turned a man, basically. And his girlfriend left him, and then he shot her new boyfriend or something like that. So things like that happen in Germany, but it does not happen very often, actually. So it's a very scarce thing to happen. Most of the people that are being shot, and usually people are being shot in the red light district. So if you look at criminal biker gangs, for instance, or if you look at Russians, for instance, like these are the people that would use deadly force with firearms. So sometimes in this environment, in the criminal environment, people are getting shot in Germany with firearms. But as I said, more than 90% of this is actually unregistered firearms. So it's not even official firearms, and not selling these arms wouldn't help anything, because the people who kill, they usually have these firearms illegally anyways. So in other words, the deadly weapons are not registered in Germany. How is it in America? Do people get shot with official firearms, or do people more get shot with illegal firearms that are brought from Mexico, for instance, or other states?
I think it's a very similar situation here in the States, where most of the crimes that happen with firearms are more likely to happen from people who are, one, unlicensed, like you put it, and two, they're not the proper owners of them. So whenever you go to the store, they have a record of the firearm that they sold with their name on it, and that's going to have the serial number on it. That's going to have the all your financial information, if you pay for it with a credit card or if you pay for it with cash. So if you want to have that, if there's anything that happens, if let's say there was a crime that happened with a firearm, the police are going to go and look up the records of the manufacturer who created it. Let's say if something happened with the Smith & Wesson, there's a serial number on the side where they can go and say, okay, let's go to Smith & Wesson, figure out what happened, and follow the paper trail of what happened with this serial number. They trace it back to the academy where it was purchased, and then they would trace it back to the purchaser, which would have been me, and say, hey, do you have this? It's been found in a crime or something.
Yeah.
And then now it's on me to basically prove to them that it wasn't me involved or whatever happened with that.
Is there actually like a fingerprint on the weapon? Like if you shoot a round, we can't tell which weapon it is. It is just by the round itself, right?
Well,
Because
I mean, if you're loading your rounds into it, you're going to be touching it with your fingers and everything. Unless you're using gloves, it's going to go in there. Now with revolvers, whenever you fire it, it's going to stay in there until you unload it.
Yep.
And then you can kind of do this thing right here to see if you can see that. This is going to push them out. Versus with a semi-automatic handgun, as soon as you fire, the casing is going to come out. It's going to project out, and it's going to load the next one. And then if you're touching it, then you leave your fingerprints on there, and then the police will find it and say, okay, so we can trace the fingerprints from that.
Yep. Yeah, so you don't. So in other words, you don't think it would help a lot, especially with things like school shootings, which is a big problem in America. Luckily, we don't have that often in Germany. The last big school shooting that I can remember, it was a student whose father had a hunting rifle. He shot 12 students at his school, which is terrible, of course. But this was when I was still back at school myself. I think it was 15 years ago, and then there was another incident at the school not so long ago, but it's relatively scarce. But I've read that things like that sadly happen very often in America. Do you think this could be helped by any degree by restricting gun accessibility, or do you think that most of these weapons are anyways obtained illegally, so it doesn't change anything?
I think that focusing on the firearms is the wrong strategy. There's more families with kids that somehow get access to firearms than there are people who want to go out and do terrible things to other people.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the number one priority for families or parents with firearms is to ensure that the children don't ever get access to them unless they're heavily supervised, of course. Yeah. I think the more important issue is what happened to that child who decided that his only other recourse is to grab his father's firearm with several rounds and go and take his frustrations out on the world instead of focusing on what the real issue is.
Yeah, it was a quiet student, like he was a straight C student, like average marks and very quiet guy, playing in a table. How's it called? Table tennis? How do you call this?
Yeah, table tennis, ping pong.
He was playing in a ping pong club, like kind of dude you wouldn't suspect. But if you think about the Trump shooting, there was an assassination attempt on Trump. This guy, he looked like some dude who was playing Dungeons and Dragons at his cellar. Like it's always these people. It's always the quiet people that don't talk much. Like in German we have a saying: "Stille Wasser sind tief, still waters are deep." So it's always the people that don't talk too much. Like the communicative, communicate. 1, 2, 3. I can do this. The communicative people, they don't shoot. It's always the people that are always quiet, that they never complain, they never say anything. That's the kind of people that always do the shootings. But yeah, the thing is also, when stuff like that happens, there's always, of course, people saying in Germany, yeah, firearms should be restricted more and this and that. But the thing is, firearms are already quite restricted. If you look at international law, especially if you compare to America, firearms are very much restricted in Germany if you compare to America, for instance. But yeah, the thing is, in Germany, only I think usually less than 100 people are being documented as being killed by a firearm each year in total. And most of this is unregistered firearms, so it's illegally owned firearms. And I think every year it's like a dozen people being shot by people who have legally a firearm, not counting the police, of course, because the police have to shoot at people at some instances. And that's a completely different question, of course. If the law enforcement or military or whoever uses firearms, that's a completely different topic. We are just talking about private owners and private people owning guns in this video. Police and military, as I said, it's a completely different topic. But the thing is, if you look at the numbers, it's like maybe a dozen of people getting shot every year. And of course, that's also terrible. I think every life being taken away by a firearm is a tragedy on its own. But
Absolutely.
if you think about it, currently there's more than 80 million people in Germany. So if you think about it, if there's a dozen people being shot every year by a registered firearm, it's actually very unlikely to be killed by a firearm in Germany. It's more likely to be killed by lightning or being struck to be struck in the subway, for instance, because there's some knife crime sadly going on currently in Germany. So I'm personally more afraid of dying by a knife than dying by a firearm, because it's rather unlikely to die in Germany by a firearm. But always when there's a shooting or something, people are starting, we have to restrict this. But the thing is, if it's all illegally owned weapons that are doing most of the damage, just restricting doesn't help. But so in this department, I'm also of the same opinion as you. It's the wrong idea to restrict things even more, because in the end, the gun doesn't kill the person, but the person kills the person. And when we also have to think about a healthy society if you talk about this, because if a person is mentally capable, if a person is mentally stable, a mentally stable person that is not sick in the head or something, they usually don't shoot on other people. Like, this is also something that we have to consider. I've told you about this another time when we were preparing for this interview today. There is a different system in Switzerland, and I know this relatively well because I have several friends in Switzerland, and we also have family friends in Switzerland. So I spent lots of my time as a child in Switzerland. I've been to Switzerland probably a dozen, if not even 20 times as a child. And in Switzerland, we don't have what we call in Germany Berufsarmee. So in Germany, we have an army, and these people are all getting paid. And this is how the German military works, the Bundeswehr. In Switzerland, it's different. We have lots of bunkers, and we even have some explosive charges in some bridges, or at least we used to have. I think we had to deinstall this. But Switzerland is like a big bunker. There's literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of bunkers. So for every person in Switzerland, there's basically like a bunker, and we have food there. It's very hard to invade Switzerland. We have their mountains and everything. But if anyone was stupid enough to actually come to Switzerland and try to invade Switzerland, which is a bad idea because it just won't work, and there's also so many military forces you would have to deal with, and Germany would intervene, France would intervene. It would be a very stupid idea to actually attack Switzerland, especially seeing that we have lots of money on their bank accounts, and there's lots of people having interest in Switzerland. So Switzerland is really not the first state that you want to invade. That's a very stupid idea. If you want to invade some state, go to Africa or South America. That's good states to invade, but don't go to Switzerland. That's a very stupid idea. But in Switzerland, we have a different system. Of course, we also have an army with jet fighters and tanks and whatnot. But in Switzerland, every capable person, I think even women, not only men, but also women, they are required to go to the shooting range at least once a year. And they have to be able to defend the country, because the idea behind Switzerland's system is that every villager, in the case of war, is able to defend the country, which also makes sense because Switzerland is a small country and we only have like 3 million inhabitants. And they can need each fighter. If Russia, for instance, came with lots of tanks, they can need every capable person to operate a gun. In Switzerland, guns are also very farly dispersed. It's like in America, where many people have firearms. In Germany, it's rather uncommon for private people to have firearms. But in Switzerland, many people have firearms. But the interesting thing is, there's barely any incidents. So there's lots of guns being around in Switzerland, but there's barely any people getting shot in Switzerland. And why is that? Because in Switzerland, people are very responsible. They always have what we call Waffenschrank. So there's like a case to lock up the weapons. So that's one thing that we have. And also Switzerland, it has low crime rates. It has low poverty. It has a fair tax system. It has a good education system. Education is also very high in Switzerland. It has good job offerings. It is very tolerant, has low racism levels. So this is things that we have to consider in this conversation, I think, because Switzerland simply is a very sane society. It's a healthy society. Switzerland is working very well. So in Switzerland, there's lots of firearms being around, but it's very, very unlikely to get shot in Switzerland because it's a very healthy society. But currently, for instance, there is lots of racial problems in America. Last big racial problem was with George Floyd, when there was Black Lives Matter and there was the protests and the counter-protests and so on. And yeah, currently we have a very incompetent politician in America. Sorry to say this, Eric, because you voted for him, but it's just my personal opinion. Most Europeans, we don't like Trump. Some people like Trump, but most here in Europe, we don't like Trump. We always make fun of this guy. Yeah, but Trump says some very racist stuff. I actually Googled this with a friend of mine, Doran Gard. We had some fun the other evening and just Googling stuff that Trump said that is actually racist. And believe me, there was a whole list of things that we found when we were searching for it. So Trump is putting lots of hatred in there. And I think that's actually more dangerous than having guns around, because it doesn't matter if you're getting shot or stabbed by a knife or someone hits you. If you're dead in the end. So I think we have to see it from this side. And I think that's a bigger problem with actually crimes like that. Like we always have to ask, is there a healthy society? And I think gun crime is kind of a problem in America. Maybe it's not as likely to die by a gun as it was in former times, and there's also other more dangerous things like malnutrition, diseases, smallpox, whatnot, you name it, buddy. But yeah, it's just kind of dangerous to live in a society like that is divided, and I think that's probably a thing that causes gun violence in America. Because as I told you, Switzerland is heavily armed, and it's very, very unlikely that you get shot in Switzerland. Or at least it has to. Maybe things have changed in Switzerland. I haven't been there for the last 5 or 6 years or something like that. So I can't tell. Maybe Switzerland has become a dangerous place by now, but I don't think so. I think the Swiss are still very much sane in their minds. Yeah, sorry for the long monologue. Actually, this is an interview about you, but I just wanted to explain this from the European side and from the Swiss side. Yeah, but anyways, you either can say something about this now, or you can come back, because I was talking about the process in Germany, how hard it is to get a gun, and maybe you can explain to us the process in America, how easy or how difficult it is to get a gun in America.
Yeah, so basically you're not able to make any firearms purchases until you're at least 18.
Yep.
And then once you are 18, then you can only purchase a shotgun or a rifle. You're only limited to those for your right of self-defense, of course.
So you can't buy a pistol. So we would rather sell you a shotgun or a rifle than a pistol.
Not until you turn 21.
Okay, with 21 you can buy a pistol. Is this because the pistol is more dangerous on short range, or is this because it can be concealed by your clothing?
Yep, concealed. Yep, that's why.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, okay. So we just want. Their mentality is basically, okay, if you get a firearm, we at least want to see it so we can react to it. So that's the philosophy behind it. Okay, so getting rifles is easier, but it's only like hunting rifles and shotguns, I guess. It's not like AR-15 or something.
I mean, technically, you could get an AR-15 whenever you turn 18. Yeah.
Okay. And how much do you pay? And do you have to see a psychologist beforehand, or how does this work in America?
You basically have to show them ID. You have to be the most likely thing you're going to show them is a driver's license from the States, and with that entails that you're at least capable of driving a vehicle.
Okay, so you basically just make a driver's license. You can drive a car, and then the driving instructor tells you, "Oh, by the way, you can also buy firearms right now." Is this
Well, on top of that, you want to be able to show them that you're not a felon, that you have no criminal background, and that you haven't been charged with anything drug-wise or anything mental health-wise. So if you're addicted to any kind of drugs, you're not allowed to purchase a firearm.
Okay, but to prove this, you probably have to go to a psychologist, I guess.
You have to have no record of it. So if you have no record of mental health issues, then you're going to be okay.
Okay, so you just have to prove that there is no record for you being created. Okay. But there's not a psychologist asking you beforehand some questions? Because in Germany you really have to do lots of exams, and so many questions are being asked. So in America, they just say, okay, that's your driver's license, you have no record, you can have it. Or is there anything else you have to do?
Well, you have to pass a background check, like I mentioned. That's going to take at least up to an hour. Whenever you're going into the store, you'll present them with your driver's. Let's say somebody just turned 18 and they have their driver's license since they were 15. They're going to go into the store by themselves, and it's up to the person at the counter to determine also if that person is exemplifying any red flag signs, basically. If for whatever reason the person at the store looks at this person and this person's kind of doing some weird head shakes or is dressed weird something,
Yeah.
then they're probably going to deem that person a red flag and say, you know what, we're going to make the decision right now. We're not going to sell you anything. Good luck. And that's it.
Okay, but how fast would you say you can get hold of this firearm? Let's say you just turned 18, you have your driver's license, and you now decide it's Monday, 9 a.m., and you want to have a firearm, and you say, I want to have a shotgun right now. When do you have your shotgun? Do you have it in the same week, or does it take more?
It would probably take an hour for the background check, and then they'd give it to you, and that's it. And you'd pay for it and walk out the door, and that's it.
Okay, so it's the same day basically. So theoretically, if you had your
Same
driver's
day.
license since you're 15, yeah, you just have to wait until you're 18, and then you have your shotgun basically, first thing first, if you wanted to.
Yep, or rifle, whatever your preference is.
Okay, and what kinds of things do we ask you on the background check?
Background check entails of if you have any criminal history, if you're currently living at the address that's on your driver's license. If you're not, then that's going to cause another check for them to do. If you have any history of drug abuse, I should say, or if you have any history of mental illnesses, and any of these, or if you're even a legal citizen, because you can still get your driver's license without being a legal citizen in a couple states. So they would check that first. They would check all of those, and if any of those come up as a red flag or something, then they just don't sell it to you.
Okay, but so I also have to be a citizen of America, because if I came to America and I say, okay, hello, I'm German, I'm in my 30s, and this is my driver's license, they wouldn't sell a weapon to me, I guess, because I'm not an American.
So for foreigners, you also have to. This is what I just learned. Also, you also have to present documentation that shows that you're there legally. So you're probably going to have maybe a visa of some sort to show that you're there for 6 months or however long you're there for, and you'd present that to them, and that's going to take a little bit longer for them to pass through a background check. But as long as you're okay here and you're not. That's actually interesting. I'm not sure how much longer it would take for foreigners. It might take a couple days, honestly.
Okay, but if I just came on holiday or vacation, I can't do it probably. I mean, it would be a bad idea anyways, seeing how Trump is currently treating people coming to the US. Like I could get locked away just for coming to the US without doing anything, because Trump just had some crazy laws established. Maybe I wouldn't want to go to America anyways these days, at least. But if I came on vacation, it probably wouldn't work. I have to have a visa at least, right?
I think if you're on vacation, they'd probably say you have to be here for some time before you can purchase a firearm. Yeah, you probably have to have.
It probably doesn't happen very often, like a German on vacation trying to buy some guns in America.
Yeah, it's very unlikely. I mean, it's basically creating another record of you going over there, and as far as I know, most Germans don't come over here illegally. They have some sort of documentation showing that they're here legally.
Yeah, that's...
So as long as you have that, you should be fine if you want to purchase a firearm.
Yeah.
But then taking it back to Germany would be a whole other issue, and you probably have to.
Of course. The thing is, by your standards in America, I would be completely entitled to actually buy a farm, or maybe not. I don't know. I used to have mental issues, but I don't know if you had it like 10 years in the past, something like that. I don't know. Would they not allow you to have a firearm if you had a depression or something like that, or psychosis 10 years ago?
That would be another. It's basically creating another window of possibility where something can go wrong. And depending on who's at the store, who's at the counter, if they see that even 10 years ago, they're going to say, nope, I'm not selling to you, versus somebody else at another store would say, well, tell us more about it. Let's see.
Okay,
give us another way.
Okay, but if I had like a documentation from a psychologist and he says I'm completely stable and disease is over and so on, so even then I could probably get one, because that's interesting. I don't even say all of this and ask all of this because I want to get a firearm in America. I mean, it wouldn't be helpful for me anyways, because if I came to Germany, I couldn't own it anyways, because our laws are just different. I just couldn't have it. I have to make a license for the gun itself. Just just asking this because it's really crazy for me how easy it is to get a gun. But would you say it's a dangerous thing or is it a bad thing? Do you feel endangered by people getting guns so easily? Do you think it should be made harder for people, or do you think it's not really a problem, or it's not the problem in this topic or in this discussion?
I think the way things are set up right now, we've made it difficult enough for criminals to not be able to just walk into the store and buy guns, and we want to make it accessible enough for people who are not criminals to want to go in and buy a gun. So, because the thing of the matter is that criminals are always going to do what they want to do, and they're always going to want to. They're going to want to bypass everything they can in order to do what they want to do. And if they want to hurt somebody, we want to make it as hard for them to do that. And even if they get past it, we want to make it easy enough for other people who are not criminals to defend themselves and their families.
Okay, so you personally don't have a problem with it. I'm just asking because in Germany, I'm very sure we are very fixed and focused on security, and sometimes in some topics we are a little bit chicken shit. If you compare it to America is the land of the free, and Germany is the land of bureaucracy, basically. So for everything, paperwork has to be done. If getting a firearm was so easy in Germany, I think many people would probably feel threatened. But seeing that it is normal for you as Americans, I mean, there has always been the Second Amendment. People have always been armed in America. Like Germany has been unarmed basically for the last 100 years, basically. So personal firearms are not very common anymore these days in Germany. Yeah, you probably just see it differently because it's just a normal thing for you. I guess if we actually established firearms here in Germany as you do in America, in 20, 30 years, it's probably also normal. It's all a question of getting used to it. But personally, you don't feel threatened by this at all because most illegal weapons are probably coming from Mexico, I would guess. I'm not an expert on this, but I always read about Mexican drug trafficking and armed trafficking and so on, and human trafficking even. Yeah, so you don't have a problem with it personally to just finish this topic.
It's just a matter of culture, I think, at this point. If you go to more democratically run states where they have more restrictions on firearms, like if you go to California, even the rifles that I have would be against state law because they only allow for, let's say, 10-round magazines. You can't hold more than 10 rounds, so the 30s would automatically be illegal if I went to California.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they have fins that they put on the grip there, so whenever you're trying to, let's say for example, let me just show you this one. So if I had my AK, they would put a fin right here so that I can no longer grip it with my thumb around it. There's a fin where I'm stuck doing this right here.
Okay.
And this is basically making it less, you have less control over the rifle, which is, you're just nerfing your rifle at this point. You're nerfing your ability, control, and aim and everything else because you no longer have this grip. You only have 3 fingers now instead of your thumb and everything else.
Okay, that sounds actually really stupid to me. Because if you go hunting, for instance, you want to have a very clear shot.
I could not have said it better myself.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you don't get a clear shot and you're not hitting exactly if you're going hunting, it just sounds to me like the animal is suffering a lot because it doesn't get shot, it doesn't get killed immediately. It doesn't make any sense to me. It would make more sense for me personally to not allow automatic weapons, like to say that weapons can always shoot 1 round at a time. So that would make more sense to me. But putting fins at the side, it's kind of stupid. You said you have the same opinion. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to not allow your thumb to go around the grip so that you can firmly grasp it, as you should on the rifle or pistol or whatever you're using. If you lose control over it, then that just makes it more dangerous, not just for you, but for anybody else. You don't want to hit You don't want to hit a target that you're not trying to hit, basically.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean said, I don't know what next question I wanted to ask you actually. Is there anything else you want to say about this? If not, we can jump to the next topic.
I looked it up really quick that the assault weapons ban basically included all let me see what it was. For automatic weapons, I think it was in 1994 under Clinton. I need to look into this a little bit more. Maybe you can.
Clinton was this funny guy who liked Monica Lewinsky, right? He was the
Yeah, that's what he's remembered for. Yeah.
yeah. It's I can remember. Clinton has been. You probably know Beavis and Butthead, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching this a lot because my brother gave me the Beavis and Butthead movie back then. I think the movie is from 96, 97, something like that. And yeah, Bill Clinton is also appearing in this, so I remember this guy. And yeah, some of his incidents, but I can barely remember any politics he did. I was a small child, I was a kindergarten child when this guy was in office, basically.
Yeah.
Just remember the face of this guy and the way he was talking. He had a very interesting way of talking. But I must say, Trump is talking even more weirdly than Clinton. So we have to give this medal to this guy. Yeah, how expensive is it actually to get your firearm? Not talking about the firearm cost itself, but getting all the certificates and the background check and so on. How much would you pay in America? Because as I told you, in Germany, it's you have to expect at least 500 euros for all the tests, but it can also be like 1,500, 2,000. Like I've Googled it, and there were different results because there is different scenarios in which you get a firearm, and it depends on the age. As I told you, everyone below 25 has to make a psychology test. And then if you're older, it's getting easier to get a firearm because people would say, okay, this dude, he's 40 years old, he has 3 children, he's not very likely to kill someone with a firearm, you know, especially if he's like a hunter. Yeah, people would not be so worried. So this is the thing. How much do you pay in America? Because as I told you, in Germany you can expect roughly 1,000 plus minus.
Yeah, so the Texas driver's license costs maybe $30. That's really all that you would need whenever you go in there. Everything else is incurred by the cost of the seller. The seller is going to be the one that's paying for the background check and anything else, and then you only pay the cost of the firearm.
It's crazy. You don't even have to pay for the testing yourself. Okay, that's a very un-German thing to happen. This is like the most un-German thing you can imagine, that the payer is actually paying stuff for you, because in Germany you have to pay for every shit and you have to pay taxes for everything. This is the most un-German thing I've heard all week, buddy.
America!
And it's Saturday, that means actually something. If it was Monday today, it wouldn't mean anything, but today it's Saturday. Actually, that's the most un-German thing I've heard all year so far, and it's March already. So, okay, but that's really cheap actually. And how much would you pay for a firearm? Let's say, is a shotgun actually cheaper than a pistol? I don't know, because shotguns are easier from the fabrication. So I don't even know. How much do you pay for a firearm roughly?
So you could get a cheap shotgun for about $200, maybe even a little less if the store is running a discount or something. Rifles, depending on the caliber, you're probably going to be spending closer to $300. You might be able to get cheaper ones, but you don't always want to sacrifice quality for price, right? Pistols, I think this one, I don't remember how much I paid for this. It might have been closer to, this might have been closer. It might have been closer to like $300 or $400. I know this one was right under $400. And then the rifles.
Actually, one question: the pistol, what material is this actually? Because the other one you mentioned, the revolver, this one you mentioned. This is scandium, you said.
And this is scandium. It's an airweight, and then this is a rubber grip.
And what's the material of the other one? Because I know there's also pistols being made of plastic. We have some special plastic.
Yeah, so this is like a polymer grip. It's like a plastic, and then the top is all steel.
The slide as well, or just?
No, the slide is the steel.
Slide is steel. Okay, yeah. Yeah, because I've seen some guns on the internet, and they were almost all plastic except for the barrel, because the explosion chamber, of course, needs metal to be there. Can't make this out of plastic, but it's kind of crazy actually how many parts you can make out of plastic. I've even seen some like ceramic guns, like guns using ceramics, but
ceramics.
Ceramics. Sorry. Some guns using ceramics that are very hard to spot on how are these detectors called? At the upload,
I've never seen one of those.
we have these detectors for metal, these metal detectors, you know?
Metal detectors, yeah.
So it's, I've seen guns where we said it was very hard to detect them at the airport. Yeah, but anyways, so you see, it's very easy to get into possession of a firearm in America. Yeah, you only basically have to pay for the firearm. The rest you have to pay a couple of dollars, but like $30, it's like negligible. It's like going to the cinema, basically. If you go to the cinema and watch a movie and eat popcorn, it's the same amount of money, actually. So if you say it's like 50, and if you take it high, it's still like 5% of what you would pay in Germany, basically. And yeah, and also you can get the weapon really fast. I think that's actually the bigger problem, because not paying so much money on it, okay, it's one thing. Yeah, let's make weapons more accessible for the poor. That's okay, but the thing is actually, and this is also something that I think is criticizable there in the system. The thing is, if you want to start a fight, or if you're angry at someone, in Germany, if you just want to shoot someone, just theoretically, I know most gun owners, they don't shoot people. Most gun owners, they just want to have protection or go hunting or something. I don't even say every American or the people getting a gun are shooters, because that's stupid, of course. Not everyone is killing people just because they have a gun. That's bullshit. Yeah, it's like everyone have a knife. Everyone has a knife at home. But that doesn't make everyone a knife murderer. It's a tool for most people. Let's put it like that. But the thing is, in Germany, as I told you, you easily wait 3 months, sometimes half a year or even longer than that. I think that's actually a good thing, because then you have some time to reflect, actually, okay, what do I want to do with this weapon? And if you just wanted to get a weapon because you're angry at someone and you just want to kill this person, the good thing is, if you wait half a year for your weapon to arrive, after half a year, you probably say, it's stupid. Why should I kill anyone? I don't want to go to jail, and life is too precious. I can't take it away like this. Like, this is actually a good thing. I think there should always be a time from if you want to have a weapon and if you're able to get the weapon. Maybe half a year is quite of a long time, but I think like a couple of weeks would be a good thing. Like, I personally think just the time difference is kind of dangerous to people. Like. Giving people a weapon just the day they ordered it, I think that's kind of dangerous. Maybe a week would be good, or a month or something, or 2 weeks or something. But I think there should always be some reflection, because there's always mistakes or accidents happen fast. I mean, you've sent me this one video. There was a gun accident. Of course, I can't show this on YouTube right now. And there was a woman. She was holding the gun, and she was not taking care of it properly, and she actually shot a man in the head, and this man was most certainly dead on the spot. Like, he was not moving anymore. I don't think this guy could have been helped by any medics anymore. Eric, he was probably dead, I guess. I think if you're shot in the head, like 90% of the time you're dead. I know there's I've read some of people surviving headshots, even headshots by shotguns to the head. But usually, if you're getting shot in the head, you're dead. So yeah, that's the thing. Actually, accidents happen very fast, and it's very easy to take a life away with a firearm. So I think there should always be some consideration, as you have said. There's safety regulations that are always important. That's of course also a thing for you to teach, because you're an instructor. So for you, that's also an important thing to think about. Like last time we met to prepare for this interview, you said that a weapon has always to be handled as a tool and as a I don't recall exactly what you said, but you basically said you have to respect for the weapon, basically. So
you have to have respect for it, because it's not just a tool, but it is technically a weapon and can be used as such. That's why you never want to point at anyone you don't want to shoot or destroy. You always want to make sure you keep your finger off the trigger, which is why you'll notice if you go back through the video, I always make sure to hold my finger here and never inside the trigger well.
Yeah, so that's always the thing. Accidents can happen very fast, and of course, no one wants that. Who's by their sane mind. So yeah, I think everything should happen with a certain consideration. I think time is important for reflection. I mean, that's also why we lock people away in prison. I mean, there's many ways we could punish people. I mean, in the past, we chopped off hands, for instance, if someone was stealing something. Luckily, we don't do this anymore because it's barbaric. Luckily,
Yeah.
most societies have abandoned this practice. It's terrible and cruel. I don't think there's many people who are sad about this. But the thing is, if you want to reflect things, there's always a certain time needed. And I think you need at least 1 week to actually think about it. Like, oh, I've ordered a firearm, and now I need 1 week of distance to actually think about this. So I think that would be an important thing. Do you think it's a bad thing that you can have a firearm so easily without waiting for it? Or do you think it doesn't matter too much? Do you think a waiting time of 1 or 2 weeks would be a good thing or a bad thing for people?
I think that if somebody wants to obtain a firearm without having to wait, if we put that regulation in place, that would only hinder good people from getting their firearms versus criminals who go out and they disregard the law anyways. They can go and get their firearms within a day, basically.
Yeah.
So I think it's I understand your perspective. I understand if somebody goes in because they're upset about something, well, that person probably isn't right in the head, but they're just experiencing normal frustrations for whatever. But if they want to take it to the extreme where they think that they can only resolve their issue with a firearm, then that's already not of sound mind, I think.
But the thing is, we're just currently talking about young people. Like in the example that we've been talking about, we were talking about teenagers still. Like if you're 18, 19, you're still a teenager. So people that just started to drive around in their car. I don't even know. Can you drink alcohol can you drink some alcohol? Because I know that if you want to drink vodka and so on, you have to be 21 in America. Like, can you drink beer if you're 18 in America?
No alcohol till you're 21.
Okay, so basically, you can shoot with a firearm for 3 years before being allowed to drinking alcohol in America, right?
Because you can join the military and shoot a firearm.
Yeah, that's the thing there. So do you think it would be a good thing if just for young people to have a certain waiting time? Because you don't even have to be a criminal or a bad person. I don't even say they always have to be bad intent. You don't have to be a bad person. Because as I told you, accidents, they happen fast. Do you think for young people who are a little bit hot-blooded, maybe, just for young people themselves, not for the older people, like if you're 40 or something, you're probably more set in your mind. Let's put it like that. Do you think it would be a good idea just for the young people to actually wait a little bit so that they don't get hold of it too easily and they don't get too excited, Because if people get excited, young people get excited, I think that's the area where bad things can happen, that no one wants to happen.
Yeah, but usually 18 and 19-year-olds are not so hot-blooded where they think, oh, I've got to do this. I got to just stop. They're usually thinking about it like, okay, how am I going to act on this? How am I going to fix my issue, whatever it might be? And they're going to take the time to reflect before they even make the purchase, I think.
But then you have more trust in young people than I do, because I can remember at university, I've been studying until 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. I can't tell it exactly. Yeah, it's almost 4 years already. By now, I was a little bit old at university, right? Like usually, you go to university when you're 18, 19, and I was already in my late 20s when I came to university. So I was in my mid 20s actually when I started university. I can remember, and these are actually relatively responsible people, because we have to keep in mind, if you go to university, you have gone to school longer, you have to have pass extra exams and so on. So usually the people who go to university, they are a little bit more responsible, a little bit more mature than the average. I say usually, not always, but usually they are a little bit more mature than the people who just want to go into a craftsman's job, for instance. Yeah, if you just want to make manual labor, you usually are not that considerate. Like if you want to go to university, you have to do more thinking tasks, write essays, and so on. I think writing and self-reflection is actually a thing that lets you mature a little bit faster. So I would say if you go to university, you're probably like 1-2 years ahead mentally in many scenarios.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
Okay, it's just my opinion. Why do you disagree?
Well, let's say, for example, somebody goes straight out of high school and goes into a trade. they're going to start using their hands. They're working with their hands. They're building a product, or they're providing a service, which basically. So if you go to a university, and this happened to me too. I went into junior college basically, and a lot of the times I would see how a lot of people who went from high school into university, they have to retake a lot of classes.
Yep.
And I noticed with the lower level English and math and stuff, they basically just taught us everything that we had already learned in high school. And I thought, what am I doing here? I already learned this. What's the next step? Now, if you test out of a lot of stuff, you can do that from high school into a university. You can test out of calculus. You can test out of other courses if you took like a dual credit kind of thing. But the way I saw it, the majority of people are not testing out of university level courses. They're going right into the next step with just a reiteration of everything you learned in high school. And I thought, this is kind of a waste of time. Whereas people who went straight into the trades are already getting into their career, and they're developing products and providing services, this and that, and they're just basically getting a head start on life versus everybody else who's having to redo high school all over again.
Okay, but you also have a very different education system. You have to keep in mind, if you go to public universities in Germany, you pay around 300 to 400 euro every semester. So every half year you pay 400 euro roughly. And that's just for bureaucracy, basically. So that's what you pay. And if you study for your bachelor's degree and you do 6 semesters, you only owe the university 2,400 euros. Plus, of course, the fee for the we call it Immatrikulation in German. I think it's called immatriculation, something like that in English. Can't really tell you. But usually you pay like 3,000 euro for studying. And having 40,000, 50,000, even 100,000 in student debt in America is kind of a common thing. So you also have to see we have a very different education system than you have in America. But this is not my point. My point was some of these people were 18, 19. You should think, okay, these people, they have more education. These people, they want to become lawyers. These people, they want to become IT professionals. These people, we want to be, they want to become mental elites or like educational elites. So you might want to think, okay, these people, they should have something in their head. But some of these guys, they were also drinking, partying all the time, saying stupid stuff. I would not feel very well if they could buy a weapon as easily as that and immediately get it. Like, if they wanted to have a weapon and they have to wait a couple of weeks for it, I wouldn't have any problem with that, because I don't sense any danger from these people. But giving them a weapon the same day as they order it, I would not like this. I would be a little bit worried about this, not because of bad intent or because I think that these people are going to inflict violence to anyone. So this is not what I would be worried about, but just some of these guys, and you believe me, there has been lots of students who have actually been drinking and everything in Germany. This is actually a very common thing. It's kind of funny that it's hard to drink in America, because in Germany, if you are 14 and you drink beer on the street, like, probably no one even cares, and they just ignore it. And you have to wait 7 more years in America. And once you're 18, you can drink anything in Germany. You can even drink like alcohol that you use for medicinal purposes, like 90% alcohol. You could drink this in Germany. But in Germany, it's different. In Germany, you can drink. Everyone is drinking in Germany. It's like in Russia, everyone is drinking. But you can't have weapons so easily. So it's the opposite situation, basically. Anyways, if I... Yeah, just to say this, I just wouldn't feel really well, because I think a firearm is a potentially very dangerous thing. And I think there should always be some thinking involved. Like, there's probably cases where people just turned 18 and they think like, oh, I'm 18, I'm an adult now, what am I doing here? I'm not a child anymore. And then they're going to the store and buying a weapon. I think that's not a thing that should be possible like this. Like, also the testing. In my opinion, there should be more testing, more background checks, more questions being asked, talking to psychologists, doing tests and so on. I think it's too easy. But the more I think the dangerous part is just the time. Like if these people had to wait for 1 week and they can reflect on what they're buying there and what they're dealing with, I think that's much less dangerous. But I'm just imagining like an 18-year-old, he just turned 18, bought a weapon. when we do some stupid stuff, like there's some other guys involved, maybe we drink a little bit, we do some shooting, and then bad things happen, like you shoot someone without intent. And probably stories like that have happened in the past. I wouldn't know of any one story like that, but it just doesn't feel right to me. I can't even reason it anymore. It just does not feel right to me to get it so easily. I would say wait a week, buddy. Wait a week when you can get your rifle, but don't get too excited, because if you get too excited, bad things might happen. Okay, but that's my take on it. Sorry if I took it for too long. It's just my thoughts on it. It just feels too fast to me. It just really feels too fast to me. I mean, there's a reason after all that in Europe it is much harder. I haven't Googled it for all the states or for all the countries in Europe, but in Switzerland you also have to wait for some time. And also in France, it also takes some time. But the thing is, in Switzerland, it's also, again, different, because we have what we call Schützenfest. We also have stuff like that. There are sport shooters who are shooting for as a competition. So there's like tournaments, you have to imagine, and the best shooter is getting a prize, basically. And we also have this for younger people. I've actually seen even 14-year-olds shooting in Switzerland. But the difference was it was supervised by adults, and they were at the range, and they couldn't really shoot people. They only could shoot on a target, so it was not dangerous. Even if you had bad intention, you couldn't do this. But we had this in Switzerland. I don't know, does a culture like this also exist in America? So that people who are like 12, 14, can they also shoot under certain conditions? Or do you have to be 18 in America to actually shoot with a firearm?
I have seen videos where kids are getting involved in shooting sports and competitions. They have competitions all the time around here. You pay your fee to get in, and then, of course, if they're doing a prize, then part of the fees goes towards the prize for whoever shoots the best.
Yep.
And of course, when you're dealing with children or young adults, teenagers, you always want to make sure that they know what they're doing, that they've been around it for a long enough time, that they have the experience, that they understand the safety protocols and everything else.
Okay, and what kind of weapons would they be firing in this case?
From what I've seen, they're either doing revolvers or they're doing like lever action rifles. Nothing semi-automatic.
Okay. Yeah, I was more expecting the second one. Like rifles make more sense to me, because if you have a revolver, you can always point it. But if you have a rifle, it's much harder to actually shoot at bystanding people. Like if I was letting these people shoot, it would be rifles. The one I've seen in Switzerland, it was a rifle, which made sense. But the rifle, it was stationed, so they could only swivel a little bit. Like they could not take it and say, "Ooh, I turn around now and I shoot the next person in the head." It was not something like that, basically. What else to say about this? Have you ever attended something like that? Have you ever?
Not yet. I am considering trying to do some marksmanship competitions kind of thing. So I've taken courses, of course, and got pretty decent marksmanship. I've passed the courses, so I'd like to, I do want to try a competition one day and maybe try my proficiency and see how I rank to other people in my local area, see who shoots better and how I compare.
There's actually one thing coming up in my mind. I should have written down all these questions. I actually wrote them down at the PC, but I didn't have any sheet of paper next to me to actually read all the questions. There was one question that I wanted to ask at the start, but I will ask it now. What was actually your motivation to get a weapon? Did you feel endangered by someone? Did you just like weapons? Did you want to hunt? Did you want to shoot for sport? So, what was your motivation, Eric, to get?
Yeah,
to
it
get
was
your
always.
weapons?
I never felt like I was ever in danger, I think. At the time, I was probably in my mid-20s. I was at university at that time. And maybe I saw an old mafia movie. Then I thought, oh man, I've always wanted a revolver and I just want to get one. I've made up in my mind. And no amount of waiting a week or a month or anything, however long the regulation is, going to make me change my mind. I want a revolver because I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So I went to the store. I had my driver's license. I did the background check. It took maybe an hour or so of waiting, but I got it. and this is the one I showed here. Is the one I got maybe 10 years ago now, and it's always been my favorite. It's probably not the best one to shoot for maybe like proficiency because of the recoil. Like I said, it is a Scandium, so it's an air weight, and you're going to get more of the recoil doing this versus if you have a larger weapon.
Yeah. Could the recoil break your wrist, or is it not dangerous to you?
No, if you're shooting a very high caliber firearm, then yes, it is potential to hurt your wrist maybe. This one, it's maybe just like a little punch. You know, this thing right here.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about going to hospital after shooting your firearm. Okay, so you really you really just got the firearm because of movies, basically.
Movies, yeah, I watched the Tremors movies when I was a kid. It's about it's a horror science fiction where there's like giant worms in the desert, and they go into the town and they start eating goats and they start eating people. And
you wanted to make sure that you can defend yourself when the worms are coming to your town, basically.
Just in case, you never know. Yeah, there was one scene in the end of the movie where the worms go into this one guy who's like the quintessential American prepper. They break into his basement, and then him and his wife are like shooting at it with a rifle, and they realize, oh, the rifle's not enough. So they go around to a huge wall of firearms behind him. He's got like 100 firearms, which is ridiculous. I don't know anybody who's got that many, but you know, he's got one for everything.
Yeah, but is this like a normal motivation in America to get a firearm just because we are cool, or is you're the exception, basically? So most people probably want to have it for hunting, I guess, or self-defense, something like that.
Yeah, number one reason would probably be for self-defense, and then anything past 1 or 2 or maybe even 5 is going to be because you like them, you like the culture, and you want to have different calibers, or because you're like me and you think they're really cool.
But what would people get? I mean, if I had a gun for self-defense at home, right, and so on, I was afraid of a burglar. I would get a pistol because with a pistol, you can always swivel around. If you have a shotgun and the person is right next to you, if the person is coming from the right, it takes some time to actually move this around, you know. So I don't know. Well, I think I would get a small pistol or a small MP, something like that, if I was. If I was getting one for self-defense, what do people buy who want to defend themselves? Do they buy shotguns? Do they buy rifles? What do we buy?
It all depends on the circumstances of the person, their budget, if they have kids in the home. So if you have a child in the home, then you want to make sure you get something that's in a safe or in a case that only you have access to. But like I was going to bring this up because you mentioned like if somebody's right next to you and you have a shotgun that you can't shoot them, this gets into close CQB, which is close quarters combat, where if they're too close for you to do, I should name it the camera. If they're close for you to do this and you can't shoot them, then the next thing to do is just, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's probably easier to swift with a pistol, I guess. Can you actually point this firearm at the camera? Because it would be interesting to have a look inside. Just to see the barrel from the inside.
First things first.
One sec. If you guys feel threatened by this, don't look now. But don't be scared. Eric can't hurt you from the screen. So.
All right. Well, first of all, I've cleared it. There's nothing in there. Yeah. And I've locked the slide back.
But you don't even have to show this. I told you I don't feel threatened here in Germany that you shoot me with a shotgun in Texas. Like especially not with birdshot. I think birdshot I would even survive. Okay, we can now see to the end of the barrel. Okay. It's interesting because I actually know it that the inside of the barrel is usually spiraled so that the bullets are not turning so much. I know this from rifles. Is this in the shotgun? I can't see it in the video quality from a webcam. How's the inside looking from the barrel?
Well, I'm not going to look down and tell you, but I do know that some rifles they are rifled or like a fluted barrel where it is got some swivel on there.
Yeah, that helps with the aerodynamics. Yeah, this is especially. I think it's so that the bullet is spinning. This is especially important for sniper rifles because they want to have a very clear and very precise movement there. By the way, you never looked into the barrel of your gun, even if it wasn't loaded. You never looked inside of it.
Number one rule, never just always assume it's loaded. You know, even if you physically and visually expected it 3 times and had 3 other people do it, you're never just going to look down the barrel of the gun. You know, it's just it's a safety protocol.
Okay. But it's interesting because I'm the kind of person, when I see something, I always want to know how does it work. And as a child, for instance, when something got broke at the house, like a toaster got broke, or a TV switch got broken, like I always took things and I opened them and had a look inside. Like, for instance, I have an old PS3 over here, and the controller was dying. And I got fed up with it because at some point it disconnected more when it was working actually, and the other one was completely broken. So I threw these away, but I actually opened them. I unscrewed the controllers, and when I took a look inside the controllers actually, because I just wanted to see how the motion controller looks inside of there, and how everything is connected basically. So even up to this day, if something gets broken at home, I open it because I just want to see how it looks inside. So I think if I was having a firearm, I would always have a look inside. Not always. Always is stupid. But at least one time I would have looked inside if it was not loaded. Of course, I would not look into loaded arm. That's stupid. That's like, ooh, let's have a look inside. And when you shoot yourself in the head, like that's like asking for a Darwin Award, you know? Like that's so funny. That's so hilariously stupid. Yeah, that's so hilariously stupid. If anyone thinks about your death anymore in the future, everyone will be laughing. No one will be sad that you died, but everyone will be laughing and saying, that's that idiot, he shot himself in the head. No, but I think I would have unloaded the gun and I would have looked inside. But it's interesting that you said you never looked inside of it, because this is like the first thing that I would have done. I would have inspected the rounds, turned everything, have a look at all the details. I would have had a look at all the details of the gun, and I would have looked inside the gun. And you never did this. But okay, you're a completely different person than me, I guess. You're a completely different person. You don't do this. But I mean, I get your mentality. Like always treat the gun as if it is loaded. I mean, we could all see it wasn't loaded, but I mean, it's sorry. It's better safe to be sorry, right? So if you say it's too dangerous for you, or you don't want to engage in any theoretically dangerous activities, I mean, I can understand it. It's just really funny. You broke this. You brought this up.
It's more psychological at that point. Like for me, I would never do that. I would make sure like 5-10 times to make sure if I was gonna look down the barrel for whatever reason, and then I would do it. Otherwise, I had a buddy of mine, so I was telling him the same thing. You know, always treat it like it's loaded. Don't ever point at anyone or anything you don't want to shoot or destroy. And the first thing he did is take it and put it into his mouth. It's like, dude, really? Okay, fine, whatever. It's not loaded, but still, man.
Another thing that I was thinking about, which is also something that I see all the time, especially in Texas, because of course most Germans haven't been to Texas. Like many Germans have been to America, but not all the people have gone to Texas. If people are actually going to America, it's more like California, Florida, New York, Washington, of course. But Texas is usually not the highest priority. I'm not saying this in a negative sense or something, but it's usually not the most interesting state for us in Germany. But if you think about, again, it was not anything personal. I don't say this without any intent or something like that, or without any.
No offense taken.
I don't say this with just with my opinion, but it's just if you think about Texas, there is more stereotypes because we usually haven't been there. And there's the stereotype of the cowboys riding and the bull farms and so on, and everything is rural, and people having their guns, and it's still like the Wild West basically. So that's how people think about Texas. And whenever I watch a documentary on Texas or something concerning Texas, there's always like these farmer people and the gunslinger people, and it just feels you always see guns basically. Let's put it like that. So if it's about Texas, you always see firearms, usually revolvers or small pistols or rifles or whatever. So how is this in the public actually? Would you say that firearms are an important part of society, just like alcohol or cigarettes are part of society? Or would you say that usually on a day-to-day basis you don't see rifles or firearms by people?
Yeah, it's very rare to see one in public. Mostly you're only going to ever see them if you go to a shooting range or if you go out to the country where people are hunting. But if you're out and about in the city or the suburbs, then you should not be seeing one. If you see one, then there's probably something going on with the person who has one,
Yeah.
or they might either be trying to commit a crime, or they might be doing a First Amendment audit, because we do have people that do that here sometimes. And then
What's that? The First Amendment? Say again.
it's called a First Amendment audit,
Okay.
where basically they walk around in public with a shotgun or a rifle just to get a reaction from the police, and the police will show up because somebody called the cops and said, hey, somebody's walking around with a shotgun or rifle, and they show up and say, hey, we're getting reports of somebody walking around. What are your intentions? What are you doing? And the person is trying to test them to get a reaction and see if they're going to be stripped of their rights for self-defense, or if they're going to just leave them alone.
So there's people actively testing the police if the weapons are get. Why do we do this? I don't understand the intention of this.
It's called an audit of the First Amendment. There's a whole genre of YouTube channel videos on it if you want to look it up. But it's people just walking around in public.
Okay, so we just want to test. The law enforcement or the laws. Why do people do this? I don't understand the motivation. I just don't get it. Why anyone would do this?
Just testing the reaction of people around them, or even law enforcement. I've seen videos where somebody walks into maybe the supermarket and openly carrying their holstered pistol, and as long as it stays holstered, then there's no problem, and people just kind of disregard it.
But who does this? Is this like criminal people doing? I still don't understand it. It's
as far as I know, it's not
the kind of thing I just don't understand why anyone would do this.
It's just people just checking to see how society works, what the reaction is like, what public reaction is to rifles, shotguns, or pistols.
Is that really such a thing? Is that such a common thing?
It's not common at all, as far as I know. I mean, in my day-to-day...
Have you seen it yourself, or just heard of it?
In my day-to-day, I've never seen somebody openly carrying anything. I've been to the range where everybody has one, and they either have it concealed or they're openly carrying a rifle. Yeah. But besides that, I never see it in my day-to-day.
Okay, so it's not a common thing. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, only law enforcement usually is going to have openly carry.
But Texas is a state where owning guns is really easy, actually, right? Like it's a red state, so it should be really easy to have a firearm in Texas compared to like California, for instance, what you brought up, right?
For sure.
So even in Texas, where it is relatively easy to get hold of firearms, even the more dangerous ones, you would say on a day-to-day basis, you don't see firearms so often, actually. Like sometimes you see some in holsters, but usually you don't see them too
law
often.
Enforcement.
Only law enforcement, of course. Okay, so that's interesting, because when we in Germany, we think about Texas, there is always this image of a cowboy hat, bull riding, and guns and so on. So this is stereotypes. This is basically like every German is wearing leather pants, but only people in Bavaria would wear leather pants, and only to Oktoberfest. so this is like bullshit, right? So this is like how we see you, but it doesn't have anything to do with all today with day-to-day reality, right? So this is
for sure.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting to know. So we are just being extremely misinformed about America concerning this topic.
I guess so, buddy.
Yeah, I just want to ask you that, and I just realized that my camera is still on. Let's turn the camera off, because I actually would like the battery to survive a little bit longer. Yeah, that's very interesting, because I was not expecting this. I was actually expecting two things. First thing is that it is a little bit harder, at least, to get arms in America. I mean, just having a driver's license is kind of wild to me. I just have a feeling like you have to have a special license for it. But then again, in Germany, do you know these small transporters that can lift up? I don't know what they're called in English. Where are we small?
Like hydraulics.
Yeah, there are these small hydraulic carts, and they can move up stuff, basically. In Germany,
the
forklifts. In Germany, you have to have a special driver's license just for the forklift. It's probably
here. Yeah,
it's the same.
Yeah, so I worked at Home Depot maybe a couple years ago, and you have to have a special certification that allows you to operate a forklift.
But do you have to make a test for it, or is it just as easy to get as a firearm?
I mean, there was a test. You have to take your
But
your
just
online
just
course
a
and
small
whatnot.
an online course, okay. But it's not as hard as getting a driver's license. Okay.
Driver's license was much harder.
Okay, because in Germany we are masters at making rocket science out of things that really are not rocket science. And in Germany, you have to have an own driver's license just for a forklift, and you actually have to attend driving lessons for the forklift.
Oh man.
It's kind of crazy, but that's crazy. So you guys also you have to have a driver's license for the forklift, as we have to do in Germany. But you can get a firearm with just your driver's license. This is crazy, man.
Well, hold on. So basically the driver's license is gonna, if you take the class, is gonna take you. I remember mine. It probably took me a week of class to get my driver's license, and you have to understand all the components of driving, street signs, whatever legislation happened recently, the morals and ethics of driving, and then especially don't drive drunk. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
And then as far as the forklift, I think they check that you have your driver's license, so they give you a drug test and make sure you're not under the influence of any drugs. And then the course you take is just maybe like a online seminar. And then you do have to take the operator's test, which is basically just the most experienced person there who is already forklift certified. He told me, grab this pallet, move it over here. Okay, now grab this one and move it on that shelf. And the final test, grab something way up there and bring it down, and then put it on the other side. So if you're able to do that, then you can basically handle most situations you're going to be in.
Yeah, it's in Germany you have to have at least I think 40 hours of practice, and usually in Germany if you make a driver's license you do this over the course of several weeks or months even. Like when I made my driver's license, I also had to attend like driving lessons. The thing is, in Germany we have so many laws for every kind of shit. It's really as I told you, we are trying to make rocket science out of everything. It's crazy basically. So getting my driver's license, I did this over a course of 3 months, I think. It took me 3 months. And you said you did it like in a week. Okay, that's American system versus
German
system.
It might have been more than that. I forgot how much it was. Let me find out real quick.
Yeah, it was just crazy to me that you don't have to have a certain license to get your firearm, but you have to have a license for your forklift. Because how many people are getting killed by a forklift every year in America? It's probably not too many.
Very low.
I mean, of course, there are probably deadly incidents with people just being stupid on the forklift. But I mean, this can always happen. You can also die in your own household in the kitchen because you're being an idiot and cutting yourself or something. But I've never heard about a forklift rampage, like some dude going on with a forklift and he spikes like one dude and he's getting on the forklift and then he's spiking the next.
And he's going too slow anyway to get anybody, so it's gonna come back here.
He's only getting the old people that walk really slow and he's coming from behind. Oh god.
Well, the more dangerous thing would be if you're directly behind somebody. If you're facing one way and then you swivel this way. This is probably the fastest maneuver you can make in a forklift is to do that. So you'd have to.
I'm just coming to this idea because in German we had there is a movie. It's called how's it called? Staplerfahrer Klaus, something like that. It's basically an instructional movie about how to use the forklift. But it shows in the movie how not to use it. So there's all kinds of accidents actually happening there. and at the end, it really gets crazy and people are dying. And one sec, I can actually show you this. Please don't think bad about me for all the tests that I've opened. There's lots of messages coming in. Who's writing me here? Okay. It's this medieval player girl from yesterday. She was actually answering me. Yeah, that's still good manners. You know, that's the difference between the male Let's Players and the female Let's Players. The females at least answer if you ask them something. That's really nice of them. I can just quickly show this. I can also send you the link. Okay,
I'll take it.
There seems to be a second one. Yeah, Staplerfahrer Klaus. So there was like this instructional movie One sec, I can send you the link on Discord. By the way, if you want to see Eric's motorbike, this is Eric's motorbike. So Eric is a really cool guy. He does not only have firearms, he also has a motorbike. And now imagine Eric with black clothes and with a motor helmet on his head, on his motorbike with 2 firearms in his hands, this is coolness overload, basically.
Thanks, buddy. Oh, shucks.
It wasn't even meant to completely ironic. I just was making fun of buddy. But I think motorcycles are cool. Guns are cool to a certain degree. Maybe not so much for me, but for young people, guns are pretty cool. So I think if you have a gun and a motorcycle, this is like this instructional movie, and in the end it gets really crazy, and there's like accidents and people are getting pierced by the forklift. This is what I was talking about. One sec, I can send you a screenshot when you know what I'm talking about. So it gets really crazy, and the Staplerfahrer Klaus, he is killing his colleagues with his forklift. So after watching this video, you will know how dangerous forklifts are in Germany. So this is why we are having a forklift driving licenses here in Germany. This is that. One sec. There was another thing, Staplerfahrer Bernd. Did we make a second part of it? If we made, I might want to watch it.
Oh, this dude is breaking all the rules, man.
Yeah, he's breaking all the rules. The first thing is, first guy, he did not wear his helmet. We say, richtige...
What?
We say at the start of the video, die richtige Arbeitsbekleidung ist wichtig, wenn man Staplerfahrer sein möchte. Also, wearing the right equipment is important, and this guy is not wearing his helmet. And when a knife is falling on his head and the knife is getting stuck in his head. But that's the first accident. It was not a deadly accident, but that's the first one that's happening. I think that's a real instructional video. This is not like a parody or something. This looks
nuts.
Okay, Staplerfahrer Bernd. But I think you can even be mentally impaired if you want to drive a forklift in Germany. Because if you want to drive a car, you have to have an IQ of, I think, like 75 or something. But the thing is...
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump would be too stupid. He probably could not go. In the book, he had an IQ of 70.
He was at least 75, wasn't he? I think he was...
In the film, he was 75, but in the book, he was 70. Forrest Gump would be very hard at the brink of what is possible. Like Forrest Gump, how do I say this? In some cases, he might be allowed to drive with some special instructors, but I think he would be too stupid in Germany. I can't tell you exactly, but Forrest Gump is already very borderline mentally demented. So
he was driving a tractor, mowing the grass for free.
Okay, but the thing is, on private property, you can drive anything at any age. So theoretically, and not even theoretically, because it also happens. Theoretically, in Germany, even a 5-year-old is allowed to drive a tractor if he wants to. But the thing is, if you're a farmer and you're having 2 fields, and you want to go from one field to the other, and you have to cross the road in order to do so. This is not allowed anymore. In this case, you would have to push the tractor, or you would have to ask someone to drive the tractor on the other side of the field. Because in that case, when we're crossing the road, this is called öffentlicher Verkehrsraum in German. So this is public transportation space. I think that's the translation to this. If you wanted to do this, then you're not allowed. Then you have to have a driver's license again. But I think if you're somewhere in a rural area and the police sees it, and they just see that you're crossing the street, they probably don't fucking care at all. Because I've seen when was that? It's quite some time ago. I think it's like 10 or 12 years ago. But I've actually once seen that. Why am I so bright? So, okay. Here, camera, adapt to this lighting setup. I've actually once seen that. There was a farmer's boy. He was maybe like 12, 13, 14, something like that. And he was driving on the farm, and I was like, do you see this? To my father, do you see this? That's a guy driving on the it's a kid driving a tractor. He's not allowed to do this. And my father was like, no, he can do this. It's private property. He can drive like this.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's the same in America. Is it the same in America? Or?
More in rural areas. So here in Texas, I've seen that it's pretty normal. If you go to
But
other,
is it allowed, or just do people do it without consent of the law?
again, it is private property, and you have more rights on private property than you do on public property. Now,
Yeah.
if you're on public property, then what the heck are you doing allowing this kid to drive? But it's private property. He knows how to drive a tractor. He's actually getting paid to do it. So let's go.
Yeah. It's even paid labor in this case. Yeah, I've just seen some farmers in Germany doing that. It's actually it's kind of crazy that it's possible. If you grew up in the city and you say this, like some people think it's crazy, but if you're living in a rural area, like people will just say, yeah, who cares after all? But people on the rural areas, they also have completely different attitudes. But it's probably the same in America. Like people here in rural areas, they are more right wing, and also they are more Christian. Like they are more there's more Christian fundamentalists. There's more Catholics, especially. You really see how the demographics are changing, and also there's less women, especially young women. Young women are going to the cities to study at university, and there's more men in these rural areas. But then again, I grew up in the east of Germany, and in the east of Germany there is less young women anyways, because especially young women that want to have children, we usually go to other areas because we just feel like in East Germany, it's not a good idea to actually raise children. Because East Germany has some problems. Actually, the whole of Germany has some problems, but East Germany has some problems. And the thing is, we currently have a development in our society that, especially young women, we are going more to the left. So they are leaning to leftist politics. And especially young men and boys of the age of 12 and above, we are more right-leaning. So we are more joining the AfD, for instance, the Alternative for Germany, things like that. And we're also much more likely to end up in neo-Nazi scenes and stuff like that. So men are going more to the right, women are going more to the left. And many people are leaving the area because it's drifting more to this. And it really is a problem. Not only because many men have problems finding women, of course, if many women are leaving the area, but also the thing is, if there wasn't any men anymore, I think women would be pretty screwed because men are in the most important industries. They are producing all the stuff. They are maintaining electricity, water, and so on. IT personnel is mostly male. So if men were all gone, women would be kind of screwed. If women were all gone, men would not be screwed, but it would be a very sad society because it would be a very aggressive society. It would be a very power-oriented society, and it would be a very how do I say it? A very rude society, like a brutal society. And this is actually what is happening to the east. Of course, there is still women around, but people are getting more aggressive, and what I think what women do and what is their most important job in society is actually keeping it's negotiating and mediating, doing mediation between people. And the thing in the east is because there's less and less women, it's also getting more aggressive. Like you can sense that communication is lacking. Let's put it like that. So this is actually what is women's most important job in society, in my opinion. And this is happening to the east. But anyways, we actually wanted to talk about guns and gun laws and gun customs and so on, and the differences between Europe and America. So let's maybe not talk about East Germany, but this is another interesting topic that some people could talk about, maybe not me. I'm not a big expert on it, but I could tell you some stuff about it. And I think we've covered many topics in this. Eric, I think you still have some things that you wanted to say because you said that you made up your mind about things that you want to say, and you said that you actually slept over it again about what kinds of topics you wanted to bring up, and you had some things in the back of your head. Did you say everything that you wanted to say, or is there anything left that you think is important to know about American culture or gun owning in general that should be said?
Yeah, I forgot to bring up again that American culture now is not really unified as it once used to be. It's very divided amongst red states and blue states, whether you consider yourself Republican or Democrat or even further right, further left, or very moderate. Where you would find more gun enthusiasts would be in red states versus in blue states.
Yep.
If you go to blue states, like I mentioned, California, with all their little extra laws that you can't have more than 10 rounds in your rifle, or you can't have you have to have a fin on there, which reduces your capability of use. That's going to be more in like blue states where everything is very restricted. Illinois, for example, they have several restrictions on on firearms, and I think there you're more likely to find restrictions as far as how soon you can get it. So you can probably find places where they would restrict you from getting it within the same day. You'd probably have to wait a couple days, even a week. And other places in the country, maybe Washington or Oregon, you're going to have several restrictions on firearms. Texas, where you're going to be the most gun enthusiasts, I think, is it's regulated as far as what happens when you're using your firearms, but the regulations are there in place, and I think it's done it's done in such a way where it allows people to defend themselves if they feel the need to do that with a firearm, and it makes it it tries to keep it to where it's difficult for criminals to bypass those laws and regulations to get firearms on their own.
It's interesting that you brought this up, because you said in other states there is a waiting time of 1 week. So the point that I was trying to make all the time, this is standard in other states. So only in Texas it is not the way like this.
As far as I know, Texas, you can get it in the same day, but let me just look up for really quick. Illinois?
You say Illinois, you pronounce VS. I always thought VS is silent, because in German we don't say VS. You say Illinois?
Yeah, it is Illinois, but some people will say Illinois. I don't know of anybody who says that, but it is Illinois, where it says there's a 72-hour, 3-day waiting period after the buyer and seller reach an agreement before the buyer can take possession of the firearm. So there's a 3-day waiting period.
Yeah, that sounds kind of reasonable, actually, to wait 3 days. That also makes sense, because I once watched a movie that was about a woman, and she was about to get married. And we were getting beaten up in the park, and she fell into a coma because of that. And her husband, he died, and she only awake after the coma after 3 months, I think. And when her husband was already married, not married, her husband was already buried in the ground. He was because he died at the incident, and she then also got a gun. In German, it's called Die Fremde in mir. I think in English, the film is called The Brave One. So this is about a young woman. She's working at a radio station. She's a radio reporter, and she's doing these kind of podcasts. And she had to wait a couple of days too, because she also wanted to have a weapon, but obviously for self-defense. But she ended up to actually kill people, but she only killed the bad guys. So she felt like the police is not doing their job correctly. So she killed up some people. It's actually interesting. We then later had a video session, and she was talking about the incidents. She was talking about the people that she killed, but she did not say that she did it. She just talked about the topic because people wanted to talk about it. So she was basically on the radio talking about what she did herself. But as a moderator, it's kind of crazy if you think about it. And yeah, when many people were actually calling her, and everyone said, yeah, it's a good thing, these fuckers, we all deserve to die, basically. It's kind of interesting. It's always kind of interesting how people perceive stuff like that. Like, I wouldn't say it's a good thing to shoot people like that, but I can very much understand if it's criminals like that people are not too unhappy that in the end where that, because let's face it, we're terrible people on the street. And to be honest, if some Russian drug dealers and some Syrian drug dealers or something in Germany or some Arab clans were just to decide to kill themselves, I mean, killing is never a good answer to anything, in my opinion. But if these people kill each other, I also don't care, because to be honest, these people are also killing innocent people. So if these people decide to kill each other, I'm just thinking like, okay, yeah, that's your business, I guess. Go ahead, buddies.
Street justice, yeah.
Yeah. It's not a good thing. I actually think the state should intervene and stuff like that. But then there's many things that the state and police don't care about, or that they don't do in the end. And if people just want to shoot each other and it's criminals, like, it's not a nice thing to happen, but it kind of hit a nerve with me. Like I wouldn't call it a radio station say, yeah, that's a good thing. Everyone, yeah, these people, they deserve to be shot down. Maybe not the best thing to say and be saying in public, but yeah, probably most people wouldn't care at all, especially if you suffered under these people, or if you lived in an area where these people are reigning and you're getting robbed by these people, probably not too unhappy with it. One thing about the demographics, there's still 2 questions I have in mind, and maybe a third one if you're talking. What's actually the demographics? First of all, age. How old are people usually that are getting guns? Is it the young people who just want to have guns because it's cool, or is it more older people? And then what's also the gender demographics? Because I would expect that it's much more likely men that arm themselves than women, because I also perceive men to be more aggressive. And then there's also, of course, the expectation, if you buy a firearm to defend yourself, there's always the public expectation the man has to defend his family. And it's usually the male job, and the woman is cooking at home and taking care of the children. Like, that's of course an old way of looking at society, but it still exists in society. So I would expect that it's mostly men going there. And probably when you're teaching people, it's probably also mainly men at these teaching sessions. But what are the demographics? How do I have to imagine this?
So whenever I took my class, it was about 80 plus people. It was about 5 women, I think, that were in the class. So I would say anywhere between 5-10% of the time, wherever you're in anything to do with firearms, it's going to be about that same demographic with women.
Okay, so it's how much is this? So it's like 6-7% women, you would say, getting firearms.
Usually, yeah.
Okay, so it's plus 90. We can say roughly plus 90% is men. Less than 10% is women. We can say on general.
Yeah.
Do you think it's just a Texan thing, or do you think that's in all of America like this?
I think that's more of a Texan thing. Other places you go to is going to be even less women that are getting involved in firearms.
Okay, so it's more likely to have a firearm as a woman in Texas. Okay, that's interesting. I was actually expecting the opposite. I was expecting the patriarchy to be very strong there, because the thing is, I have a friend, she's called Rue or Aslin, and she's a transsexual, so she was born as a boy, and she's also living in Texas still, and she was complaining several times that her upbringing was not very nice, because apparently the patriarchy is very strong there, and it's not the most rainbow-friendly state in America if you go to Texas. Like, if you're homosexual or transsexual even, which is probably more of a problem for many people. Yeah, she just explained to me that the patriarchy is really strong there, and it was not the nicest place to grow up with this kind of sexuality and identity. Yeah, it's actually interesting. I expected women to be less likely in Texas there. What do you think makes women to be more likely in Texas to shoot firearms than in other states?
I think, well, I can't really speak for those women, but I think they come to the realization that if they want to live their lives as they wish without a man present, then they have to take responsibility for their own well-being and for their own safety. Now, most of the time I'll see that the women who carry in Texas are usually in a relationship with another man who decides, well, we should both take responsibility, because, you know, if you really believe in equality, then women should be just as capable as men to do all sorts of things. Not only should she be able to carry, but she should be just as proficient with using that firearm, just as a man would be.
But if this is about emancipation, if I understood this right, if it is about emancipation, would you say it's like a feminist thing to do? Because feminism is usually about emancipation. Do you think there's a feminist side to this, or how do I have to imagine this?
I mean, without getting too much into feminism, I think that the feminist thing to do would be for a woman to absolutely learn everything about the firearm. Now, real feminists are very much anti-gun, which is quite ironic, as you could put it. But the correct feminist take on it would be to grab the firearm and learn the heck out of it, just like any autist male would. But of course, good luck getting a woman to invest as much into firearms as any of us, you know.
It's interesting that you say that, because I perceive it the same. Because real feminism is actually saying, okay, let's incorporate ourselves, let's do all that men are also doing. And then the feminism that many women are displaying is more like, let's not do the same, but let's talk bad about everything. Let's talk badly about anything that men are doing. Like, actually, feminism is not a bad idea on its own. I mean, it's about equal rights for everyone, and I don't think that anyone who likes democracy should have anything against this. So it's not a problem, actually. But the real feminism that is lived by people is often very toxic and just about blaming people. Oh, you men are guilty for this, you're guilty for that. It's funny that you bring this up, because this is also how I see feminism. Like, if you really understood feminism, you should actually empower yourself and do all the stuff that men are also doing. But then it ends up just talking trash about men very often. But we also have to see there's lots of men hate in the feminist bubbles. Like, there's many feminist bubbles who are highly toxic. It's not only incels talking very toxic about women. There's also lots of feminist bubbles. Like, especially in the woke bubble, there's lots of men hate. And if you watch these woke movies, like, men are usually just idiots. The women are doing all the work. And if you just look at it, it's just discrimination, but from the other side. And it's kind of stupid, because at the core, feminism should be about equal rights and taking away stereotypes. And when they're just establishing their own stereotypes, it's stupid, because they're just doing what they're blaming the other side for. So if you really think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But I guess that's just modern society. I mean, it's the same with religion. Especially like people in a cult, people that think they are the most religious and understanding the Bible the best. That's the first kind of people that would use violence as a sword to resolve conflicts. And it's really stupid, actually, because if you really read the Bible and if you really incorporated all these things and the good things in the Bible, you would not use violence, you would listen to people, you would accept people. And when the most religious people come, and that's the people that are using religion for violent purposes, it's stupid, actually. Because if you really honored what is said in the Bible, you couldn't do most of the crimes that people are doing in the name of religion. But yeah, that's what it is in the end. There's always like political movements, there's religious movements, and they are saying things, and then they're doing another thing. That's always another thing. Okay, but is it more young or is it more old people that are using firearms in
So mostly people in their I would say mid-30s, maybe. I'd say the majority of people are going to be in their mid-30s. You're going to have some younger kids in there too. When I say younger kids, I mean like men in their 20s. Most likely, you're not going to see somebody who's 18 or 19 in the gun space, unless they're maybe supervised by their parents. So you might see a couple teenagers every now and then, but of course, they're going to be under direct supervision the entire time that they're ever controlling a firearm.
Yep.
And then besides that, it is going to be a lot of older gentlemen there as well.
Yep.
Maybe nobody past 80 years old, you know, but unless they're working at the range and they're the range safety officer kind of thing. But it is going to be mostly men from 20s up until 40s or 50s.
Okay, so I would be looking like the average American, probably, with my German beer belly and my age. And if I came to the range, I would probably look like the average American going there. In other words.
As far as I can tell, or as far as what I've seen so far, most guys who are really gun enthusiasts, they take personal responsibility, you know. So it's not only for their own self-defense, but for their health and
Mhm.
for the way they live their lives, finances, everything else it entails.
Yeah. Okay, but just by the looks of it, if I came to a shooting range, I would look like the average guy being there, basically, with my
Yeah,
badge and
you'd look
everything.
like somebody who
Yeah.
probably practices every now and then. And oh, hey, how you doing? What's going on, man?
Do you think if I went to the store, like if I went to Walmart in America, do you think that people would think, oh, that's the kind of guy who's shooting at the shooting range, or how do you perceive this?
They would disregard you unless you made a problem for somebody. They'd think, oh, just some dude. He's buying groceries and whatever.
Okay.
And then if you start speaking to him, they're like, oh, he's got an accent. What is this?
Oh God, it's a German accent. The Germans are at it again. Yeah,
Mm.
Germans are very, very dangerous, of course. We all have our carabines in the cellar still from World War II, so
Very cool.
yeah, so that was something going through my mind. The second question is, what do you actually do on a day-to-day basis with guns? I mean, you said that you're going to the shooting range, you're improving on your aim, but to be honest, and I've seen this on YouTube, but I'm not even sure if it's legal. What I would want to do is taking like pineapples and coconuts and apples and so on, and I would take them and I would try to shoot them from a certain distance. Is this a thing that would be a thing in America? Is this even allowed? Could you just go to the forest and shoot some things, or is there only certain spaces where you can use weapons in society?
Yeah. Again, it just goes back to private property. So you have several more rights available to you on private property. And as long as you're not infringing on anybody else's rights or even the property owners, there's a lot of things you can do there. So if you wanted to waste your money on perfectly good fruit and set it all up so you could shoot them, you're perfectly within your right to do it on private property.
If I open a coconut like that, it has to be opened anyways. I can still eat the remains. It's not like I'm wasting it. I'm just opening it like this.
Well, I mean, you have to remember too that these are lead in here. So if it gets onto the food or whatever you're shooting, then that's going to be contaminated with lead, and you probably don't want to be eating that.
Okay,
That's just my take on it. Yeah.
Okay, it's not food safe, but the top is lead. You said the top that you just showed.
Yeah. So like the inside of it's got like a brass copper casing on there, and the inside is going to be all lead.
Okay, yeah, because I was about to say this looks like copper. This does not look like lead.
Mhm.
Okay, so there's the copper casing, and then there is lead inside, which is probably
Yep.
because of the weight. Because lead is really it's a heavy metal after all. Yeah, so
Mhm.
that the projectile has more kinetic energy, I guess. That's probably why we do it. But lead is still better than uranium, because I've heard that there's also uranium ammunition to shoot tanks and so on. Like, I would prefer some lead in my food than radioactivity. It's probably still better.
If I had to make the choice, I probably would too. Probably just shoot a watermelon, pick it up, and oh, this side is still clean. Let's just go ahead and enjoy some watermelon.
But I mean, the thing is, we have now, we call it PVC. It's a special kind of plastic. I don't know how you call it in English.
Yeah, PVC.
You call it PVC. We have this in Germany now, but not too long ago, actually, when I was a child, there was still lead pipes in Germany. And at the time of my grandparents, it was the standard, actually, for several reasons, because lead is also easy to repair, it's easy to form. It's a very soft metal. And my grandparents, we have actually been drinking out of lead pipes for most of our life, like 60 years. And it was still a thing in Germany, and we survived it. And now we could discuss what is worse, lead poisoning, microplastics. We could have a long discussion about this, but I just want to say my grandparents have been consuming lead for decades, and they still live perfectly fine out of it. So I think even if you swallowed one of these rounds, you probably would not. Of course, you shouldn't do, but lead poisoning is not to be taken lightly, because it doesn't exit the body anymore. But I think even if you did that, I think lead poisoning is not that dangerous if you compare to other things that are currently going on. But
compared to the microplastics, yeah, you could sit there and what was that one movie with Denzel Washington where he's playing Russian roulette and he just grabs a bullet before he before he loads it in, he just like starts sucking on it and kisses it and puts it in there, like that's his good luck.
Can't tell you. I'm not watching Hollywood movies too often. I'm actually more. I'm more a fan of French cinema. Actually, French cinema is we do really
Okay.
artsy movies. But the big ones I would also see. But I really loved Hollywood as a child. Like one of my favorite movies was actually Jurassic Park. When we look back to the first Jurassic Park movie, and I was in kindergarten. Like I was really amazed at this because we
Oh
haven't seen
yeah,
this before.
classic.
And I'd seen this in kindergarten, and I was like, "Oh, that's crazy! I want to have this on VHS so I can watch it at home." And yeah, that was my experience. I think as a child, I've watched Jurassic Park countless of times. Yeah, just the
Yeah,
Star
it's a
Wars,
good one.
Star Wars and Jurassic Park. That was like my kindergarten time. Later on, we in primary school, we got also a lot of rings, so I expanded my interest from dinosaurs and Jedi Knights to Tolkien's world as well. But yeah,
Well, now you can combine your interests here: Jurassic Park and firearms.
what's this? One sec. Jurassic Park. Okay, this is just Wikipedia or what?
It's the same format of Wikipedia, but it's mirroring what you would find on the Internet Movie Database. So basically, they take every single movie that's ever been made and give you a comprehensive list with all the details of the firearms in that movie.
Ah, okay, that's interesting.
So if you go to Jurassic Park from 1993, you're going to see, oh, they had these rifles, they had these shotguns, they had a cattle prod. Okay, that's pretty fun for velociraptors, I think.
M16 AR-15. Okay, how many models of the AR-15 do actually exist?
Oh, countless. I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, must be. It's
Everybody has their own different brands, different makes and models, just like vehicles.
yeah. Yeah, with Best 12, you see this one a lot. It's also in many video games. It's one of the most renowned shotguns actually.
Very big in the 80s.
It's also relatively fast, as I know. It's a relatively fast shotgun if you compare to other shotguns. Like it was completely overpowered. It also existed in GTA Vice City. It exists in Far Cry 5 and 4, for instance, I can tell you for sure. And also a couple of other games. Like this weapon it's always completely overpowered. I've never seen one in real life, but in the video games, it's always a really strong weapon after all.
Yeah, this would definitely be a collector's item. If you found one here, it'd probably cost you like, let's find out.
You mean the one from the movie would be a collector's item, or the weapon itself would be a collector's
Well,
item?
the one from the movie would be a collector's item, but even the firearm itself would be quite a lot here. You're going to spend at least $4,000 on the low end.
Yeah.
I would imagine more than that.
But why are people so hyped about this gun? What makes this shotgun so special?
Just because it was in a lot of cool movies. The Terminator, Jurassic Park, Beverly Hills Cop, what else? RoboCop. I didn't see a lot of these movies. Lara Croft, who was in there.
Why doesn't it show? That's only the poster. Video game television.
Oh, it was in one of the John Wick movies. Yeah, it's just a very cool looking gun.
AMT Hardballer Long Slide. Okay, interesting. Pistol. Let's have a look. Frenchy's Best 12. Okay, but he has a different handle. Okay, that's interesting to see. Oh, he shoots the gun seller. Okay, that's a very dangerous job. But is it actually dangerous in general? Would you say selling guns is a dangerous profession, or would you say it's relatively safe actually?
To sell them? I mean, I've never sold one. I don't think it would be very dangerous as long as you're not selling the guns and ammo together.
Okay.
But it should be pretty safe, depending on where you're doing it. If you're doing it at a pawn shop, it might be a little bit more unsafe versus if you're doing it in let's say like at a gun show. So every now and then you'll see gun shows in your local suburb or whatever. Maybe not suburb, but like in a convention center in a suburb or whatever. that people will go in there with all sorts of different firearms and sell it to you for a very high price, usually a very high markup at these things. And of course, everybody in there, you're expecting them to have weapons on them. And then law enforcement is always there too. So you're expecting some level of safety there.
Yeah. So if you go to you said it's dangerous to sell guns and ammunition at the same place. So if you go to a gun store and you buy a firearm, you don't get ammunition at the same place? Is that what you're saying?
You do. So you can walk in and out with your ammo, but whenever you're purchasing the firearm, they'll keep it on them inside the box, and they don't give it to you until you're about to leave. And they want to physically ensure that you're leaving the store with the firearm.
Can you say again? I'm a little bit tired. I didn't understand.
Yeah. So basically, you go to like your Academy Sports and Outdoors, and you go in there and you purchase a firearm and your ammo. The seller is going to hang on to the box with the firearm at the entire time while you're purchasing your ammo and the firearm together.
Yeah.
And they won't let you have you can have your ammo and everything else, but they will not give you the firearm until you are at the door and they physically walk you out the store.
Okay. So this is we are at least a little bit worried about this. If I read this right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not so common to get shot, I guess.
Not at all. No, it's very unlikely. Unless you're playing Grand Theft Auto, then getting shot's the most American thing you can do.
Okay. I've seen some dude, he thought he was in Grand Theft Auto, but he was doing crime with his car, actually. So he was running over street signs and so on. It's actually crazy how some people are getting so detached from reality that they're thinking that they're in a video game. But yeah, crazy people are everywhere, I guess. But anyways, what's actually if you went to a forest? If you went to a forest, can you just shoot? Could I put like 3 coconuts on a stand and say, okay, I shoot this coconut now, or is it not possible?
Again, it has to be private property if you're going to do that. Otherwise, that's a huge violation. You're putting other people at risk. You're putting yourself at risk, of course. And if law enforcement shows up, then you're basically you're brandishing a firearm, and negligent discharge is what it's called.
Okay, and how much do you get charged for it?
Let's find out. Negligent discharge crime. It would be a Class B misdemeanor, carries a penalty of 180 days in the county jail, not in a fine, or a fine not to exceed $2,000. So based on what you were doing, like if you go to your local public park where kids are playing and stuff, and you're doing this, and it's close enough to the park, the cops are going to show up and say, "Hey, what the heck are you doing, you idiot?" And they'll basically throw the book at you if you tell them that you're, "Oh, I'm making a YouTube video," and they're like, "All right, this guy's an idiot. We're just going to give him the maximum penalty and fine we can because he's just being stupid."
Okay, so the punishment would be like half a year to jail. On 6 months.
No, it would be 6 months in jail, and probably they just charge you $2,000 just for being an idiot.
Okay, so America is still not a place where you want to be an idiot around. So
so basically, like I said, they make it to where they try to keep criminals for doing stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're a decent person and you're still able to get a firearm, they have all these laws set in place where if you do something and you were being stupid, then they're just gonna take as much money as they can from you and put you in jail for as long as they can.
Yeah. Yeah, but
so that's their deterrent.
But what if you're going to the forest and there's no one standing around? I mean, if you're close to a park and there's children, I mean, it kind of goes without saying that you can't handle a gun like this. So what would be the case if how do I say this? What would be the case if you were in a more secure environment, like you are at the forest and nothing can basically happen? Would you still be charged, but or would you get a smaller charge? How would this go?
It would still be a charge because, well, let's say if you're really far away from police and nothing, and you're shooting, and it really depends on who owns the property, because everything is either public or private property. If you're in public property, the cops are going to if you get caught, the police are going to show up and they're going to put the maximum fine they can on you for doing something like that. If you're on private property, then it comes down to whoever owns the property, and if they hear gunshots, they're going to come looking for you, and they're probably going to consider you a threat, and they'll take you out, which may or not be worse than prison and a $2,000 fine.
Mhm. Okay, but it's actually interesting because when you say it's allowed at public, private property, the thing is, what happened if you actually wanted to shoot at the back of your yard? Because it's private property, would this be allowed, or how is this going?
That's another thing too. Yeah, it is technically private property, but if you're close enough to somebody else, where like your neighbor, they call the cops and say, "Hey, somebody's shooting in my backyard." They'll go and investigate all of the houses in the vicinity, and
Yeah.
if they are able to determine that you're the one that's negligently discharging in your backyard, then you're going to get the same fine or something similar.
So in this case, it's not about private property. It's just about if you're endangering people. But if you're on a farm, for instance, and it's your own property, it doesn't matter. You can do what you want, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. As long as it's not too close to anybody else,
Yeah.
as long as it's not in a direction where somebody can get hurt. So, like, if you have a long stretch of land and you're shooting from one side to the other, by the time the bullet gets to the other side, it's going to have fallen from the laws of physics, I think. And or the other thing, what you should be doing actually is have a backstop, like a real big pile of dirt that's going to catch any bullets that go over there.
Yeah, that would be the best thing actually, like some stone wall or something, some concrete wall to actually stop the bullets. Yeah, okay. So to sum this up, if I wanted to shoot some coconuts in the back of my yard, I would have to be at least 18. I would have to be an American citizen, or I would have to have a visa. I would need to have a driver's license. I would have to be on private property, and I should not be too close to any other people. And if these 5 things are given, I can basically start to shoot my coconuts in America if I wanted to do this. This is this is how it goes. And I should have a stopper in the background, like some pile of dirt or something.
I probably should have prefaced this video by saying I am not an attorney. I don't work in law, and if you have any specific questions, then you definitely must consult with an attorney.
Yeah, it's okay. We don't have to put this up like this. I mean, this video was not so much about law or some explicit laws that you have in America. It was more about the experience. How do I get weapons? How is the culture? How do you guys use this on a day-to-day basis? And yeah, I think we also spent way too much time on the equipment, like especially your equipment and also my joking with the camera. But it doesn't matter. I think it was so interesting that we talked about today. And I don't really have any more questions for you. I think everything that was going through my mind during the interview, I've already asked you. So Eric, thank you for all the time. Thank you for the preparation that we put into this. And thank you for being my interview partner today. It was
my pleasure.
It was fun to talk with you today. It was a nice and interesting conversation. And yeah, also thanks to you guys at home. I hope this video was interesting for you and that you could maybe learn something about either our European culture if you're an American, or maybe about the American culture if you're a European, which is more likely on my channel. So yeah, maybe you could take something out of this. I hope it was interesting. And if you want to know some things, you can leave it in the comments. I will ask Eric, or I will Google it if it's possible, and I will let you know in the end. So if there's anything you really want to know, you can leave it there, and we will come back to you. And if you have lots of really, really good questions, we might even do a follow-up video just to answer these questions. But I think we basically answered most of the things that we wanted to talk about in this video. And there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of really good researched videos on gun laws anyways, already on YouTube. So we are probably not the first people here. So if you want to know anything very specific, just ask Google, ask ChatGPT, or search for it on YouTube. But I hope we could cover some things. By the way, if you're wondering, no, I have eyebrows, but they are blonde and you can't see them right now because the light is coming from the top. No, I did not shave off my eyebrows. I did also not pick on them. They are just as thin as they are. We have always been like
Hey,
this.
no judgments here, man. If you want to shave your eyebrows. All good.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not saying this for you. I'm saying this for some viewers because I have encountered people that thought that I was shaving off my eyebrows, but that's stupid. I wouldn't do this. Why should I be doing this? I'm just saying this. I actually have eyebrows, but they're very blonde. Like when I was a child, I used to have blonde hair. I now have brown hair and red hair and the beard. And I have eyebrows. You just can't see them. So please don't ask me in the comments why I shaved off my eyebrows. I've already had this in comment sections under my videos. Like you have to keep in mind, I've already uploaded almost like 1,000 videos. How many videos did I upload? Like 900 something. I don't know it by heart, but it's a lot. Definitely, I uploaded lots of stuff on YouTube. Yeah, it's 912 videos. So it's not the first time that people thought I've been shaving off my eyebrows. Now I don't do this. Just want to say this. It's just the fucking stupid light in my eyebrows are really bright. They're blonde, so you can't see them. But just because you can't see them doesn't mean they don't exist, right? So it's yeah, just want to clear that out. Maybe I should dye them. I should maybe dye them in some kind of brunette or some reddish,
Sharpie.
some
Sharpie
reddish
your
tint,
eyebrows in.
or just a Sharpie, because in that case people stop this shit with asking me all the time if I actually shave them off. No, I don't do it. I said for the 4th time already. I don't do this, and I don't plan on doing this in the future. It would be really stupid. Why should I be doing this? Like this is shaving off or picking your eyebrows. It's like it's a thing only women would usually do, and I don't say this without any sexual discrimination or whatever. Didn't Whoopi Goldberg shave her eyebrows off? This black actor?
I have no idea, man. I don't know anybody that does that, and I hope I don't.
Yes. Yeah. Why should anyone do it? I only asked because I've seen a video of her like 3 days ago. And she was kind of disconnected from reality, and actually saying because people were complaining about the housing crisis, and she was telling people, back in the day we worked and we got houses, maybe you just don't work hard enough. And that's of course bullshit, because if you compare salaries and housing prices and so on, it objectively has gone up. Like it's not an imaginary thing. Like it just got more expensive overall. So what she said there was completely disconnected from every reality that you could think about, or every numbers that you could list on the topic. But yeah, sorry, that's a completely different topic once again. Again, thanks to you, Eric. It was a nice interview, and it was fun to have all these questions answered. Also, I think the preparation was also fun. And thanks again to you guys for all the time that you spent with this video, because if you watch the video from start to finish, it has been a good 2 hours, I think. 2 hours, 3 hours already. We've been talking for 3 hours, 3 hours and 6 minutes as I'm speaking. So this was lots of information, lots of trash talk also in between, but lots of information, lots of cultural insight. And maybe if you want to, you can also, if you're from another country in Europe, or if you're from America, if you're from Germany, if you're from somewhere else, maybe you can also write in the comments what your experience is. How are guns being handled in your country? Is it easy or is it hard to get a firearm in your country? And do you think that is a good thing or is a bad thing? If you want to share your experience personally, or your personal opinion just on the topic, you can always do this in the comment section. We would like to read your comments, and if you write anything, I will let Eric know. How's it grammatically correctly? I will let Eric know. I think so. It's correctly like this.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will let Eric know that you wrote something, and I will tell him what you wrote. So even if you just have a question to Eric, not to me, just write it in the comments. I will contact Eric, and we can get things sorted out. And that having said, thanks again for your time, your attention. And I think we do cut here. So is there anything left to say, Eric? Do you want to have a last word?
Thanks for watching.
That's
Hope to
important.
see you
Thanks for
again in the
watching.
next one.
Yeah, see you in the next one.